When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I grew older, I set aside childish ways. Corinthians 13:11. In the distant future, mankind has spread into the stars and found it is not alone. Within the cluster of planets known as the Silrain Heart, many races strive for survival or supremacy. But throughout this array of planets, societies, and cultures, each has one thing in common: the crucibles. Scattered throughout the galaxy, each moon-sized structure contains a core of raw sorin, a form of mysterious energy used to power ships, cities, and sometimes the warping of the fabric of reality itself. Beings who can do this have been given a name: Espers. The power of God has been granted to God's children. It is a time of terror. It is a time of wonder. It is the time of Esper Genesis.
Yes, indeed. What is going on, everyone? Welcome, Arvanauts. Welcome to a Friday stream. It is my great pleasure to welcome all of you to day 72 of Esper Genesis Aftermath. It is the Shadow of the Zephyr campaign as we enter its final days. We have sessions in March and April, and we will be wrapping up in May with our final session, assuming all goes well, he said, with his fingers crossed, to conclude during ArvCon. I am very excited for it. And thank you for the resub, Triffity Mets, tier 1 sub, almost 2 years. Thank you very much, Triffit. I really appreciate that. I can't believe that either. Boy, time does rush on by. But thank you so much. I appreciate that, Triffit. And welcome, everybody. I am very excited for this. Good to see everyone. Gold Public. Prince Justin was here. I saw some other folks jumping on board. So welcome all. I am excited to welcome you to day 72 of Esper Genesis. Before we go any further, just a couple of reminders about ways to support the stream. If you haven't done so already, please follow our channel. That is one of the best things you can do. Please check out our YouTube with !ArvTube, where you can check out past broadcasts of this stream and others. And please subscribe to us over there. We're trying to build our subscriber list there up to 1,000. We are at 808 or so as of last check, so we're making good progress, but we'll be able to do a lot of things in terms of flexibility with the channel and other things once we get that up there. So please consider doing that. Please and thank you. !ArvCord is our Discord channel. We've had more people jumping on board with the Discord as of late, so please jump on board with that. You can hang out with the Arvanauts in between streams. Exclamation point Arv Tweets is my Twitter, where I always try to post when I'm going live or about other various things important to the teaching, gaming, writing, streaming, music, the family, occasional little bit of politics thrown in there, career. So all of that can be found on my Twitter with exclamation point Arv Tweets. And the website, of course, is arvaneleron.com. On the financial side, exclamation point Arv Treon is my Patreon, sitting at 20 patrons, $1.98 per month. Really the financial backbone of the channel. So any support people can give there is much appreciated. You can get a lot of cool stuff for yourself individually, and you can also get inspirations to help our players. And we have not had a lot of tabletop stuff yet this month. It's sort of backloaded, so we're going to have a lot of tabletop coming up. So you have inspirations loaded up and ready to go, folks. So make sure that you get those inspirations ready to help our players, in addition to other things you can get over on the Patreon. That's exclamation point Arv Treon. Again, resubbing to the channel or subbing to the channel or gifting a sub. Triffity Mats was nice enough to resub just now. That also gets you those custom sub badges and emotes and allows you as well to get inspirations to help the players. And of course, if you haven't done so already, please consider supporting the publishing side of things. Exclamation point Icarus is my Icarus graphic novel from Athos Arts. Exclamation point Library is my Tales and Tomes from the Forbidden Library. Thank you, Gold Public 808. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you. And so yes, we have got Icarus, we've got Library, and of course that is by Alligator Alley Entertainment, our sponsor for this show. And of course exclamation point Greyshade KS. As you may have noticed, I just announced this, that we have now a new set of dates. May 31st will be the publication date for my novel Greyshade, the new edition, I should say, of Greyshade. And then the Kickstarter is going to, the preview page for Backer Kit will go live then, so you'll be able to follow the Kickstarter at that point. And then it will go live on Tuesday, June 14th during my stream, basically the Tuesday after Origins. I could not be more excited for this. It is a tabletop role-playing game. It is the second two books in the Grey Assassin trilogy, started by Greyshade. Renegade and Heretic are books 2 and 3. And we will also have an audiobook from Trending as a stretch goal, plus surprises along the way. This is an amazing team that has been assembled. Both Athos Arts and Alligator Alley will be a part of it, and I could not be happier and more excited about how things are going. I've gotten my last notes from the editors and from people doing sensitivity read as well, and it's awesome. I cannot wait to get that last thing done and then sent off and to be able to share this world with all of you. So please check that out with exclamation point Greyshade KS. And lastly, as always, exclamation point BLM, Black Lives Matter, very important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives. And exclamation point Help Now, which is the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Very important to reach out to others when you need help and to reach out to others when they need help as well. First of all, just a quick thank you to the wonderful people at Alligator Alley Entertainment for sponsoring us. Remember, this campaign is running through ArvCon, and then in June, we will also be launching a new campaign, which is Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks. It will be a new campaign brought to you by Alligator Alley, and it will be featuring these same players, but with different characters, although there will be some characters sort of combined into the mix. I don't want to spoil anything, but that's the way we're looking at it as we finish up here with the Shadow of the Zephyr campaign. So that is going to be super cool. Schedule-wise, we've got Esper Genesis tonight. Tomorrow night, Saturday night, we have got more Eberron, Oracle of War, coming to you as we move into the last section of Season 1 of Oracle of War with the third protocol. That campaign is definitely heating up. Then we will be off on Sunday, Monday. Tuesday, we get back into Adventures of Middle Earth, which is going to be a lot of fun, and D&D with GOG Ghosts of Saltmarsh over on Pen and Pixels show on GogCom's Twitch channel. Then off Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday we get into, I believe, Friday is Midwinter's Morning, if I'm not mistaken, featuring, of course, Triffity Mats and Prince Justin, and Sean Duke, who will be continuing our D&D with viewers session of Midwinter's Morning from Critical Crafting. That'll be on Friday as we wrap that up. And then Saturday will be the Patreon-fueled Chat Chosen Game of the Month. And while I'm thinking about that, just double-check this. And please get your vote in to see which one of these games I'm going to play this month. Your choices are The Last Express or Lost in Random, and currently they are tied at 2 votes apiece. So go in there and get your votes in, because we will be finishing that up on Tuesday. So that's what we've got on the docket for the next week and a half or so. Very excited for it, and yeah, I can't wait. But right now what we've got is the incredible Esper Genesis crew. So I'm going to jump in now and apologize unreservedly. I saw Carlos making some awesome gesticulations, so I'm sure I interrupted him, and I apologize unreservedly to him and to all those who did not get the gesticulations. And now I will unmute them. And last but certainly not least, I will head over to reveal the incredible crew,
Yeah.
Sans one. We are one down.
Bury the body there. Oh shit!
We were talking about, oddly enough, we landed on the same topic that you came into the green room with the last Esper Genesis.
Oh yeah,
which was spermatogenesis.
See, if I leave you alone for a while, it will just always end.
Eventually, it always heads to
yeah.
Well, you know, spermatogenesis is the future. So.
Yeah, it's the future.
The future.
Yeah,
literally the future.
That is a little green room inside joke. Which, if you only knew what goes down in the green room,
oh
chat,
yeah.
It is very good to have this group with us. I will say quickly that Johnny is not with us today. He had an emergency pop up. He's fine. He had an emergency pop up. We're keeping a seat warm for him, as I said. So we're hoping that he will arrive later on. But if not, we will have him back next time. But I did not want to delay because Kat was not able to join us last time. Kat is here now, and I wanted to make sure that we continue our forward momentum because, chat, there's a lot about to go down in Esper Genesis Aftermath. So this is not to be missed. Johnny will be back with us. So, however, in time-honored tradition of Esper Genesis anyway, I am going to move over to Kat next, and I'm going to welcome Kat Rambo. It is good to see you, Kat. I hope all is well, that you've dug out from various snow and weather events and things like that have happened over the last couple of weeks. How are you doing? And when not getting awards and nominated for awards for You Sexy Thing, how have you been doing otherwise, may I ask?
I have a couple of things I can't talk about, but next month I will be able to. But I wanted to introduce people to a new friend. This is a character from You Sexy Thing, the book, and it's actually not very secure, but for folks who are fans of Skidoo, my friend Susan made this wonderful little felted version of her. I actually took her traveling with me recently, and I'm super excited about that. And I got advanced copies of the new book that I have coming out with Jennifer Brozak. Oh shoot, The Reinvented Heart, which will come out in May instead of March, but we're super stoked about that.
Very nice. And Reinvented Detective, you are looking at the slush pile as we speak, I believe, for the next one.
We are. Well, no, I'm ahead of Jen because before I went traveling, I was like, I'm going to crank through all 326.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a pain in the ass. So I did those really fast, but I'm a seasoned editor with lots of opinions about slush piles. So I think Jen, when I last talked to her, I think she's got we've got, I want to say 3 dozen or so that we need to kind of sit down and be like, okay, what do we think of this? What do we think of this? And then we arm wrestle. That's always fun.
Wow. Do you know how many stories in the end you're going to have for that?
I don't. I can tell you how many words. We're going to have 80,000 words because that is what the publisher is holding us to.
Okay.
But we have to look at the stories that are coming in from our solicited authors, who are both the people that were in The Reinvented Heart, and then some other, the publishers want what they call big name authors. And so we reached out to a bunch of BNAs, as the lingo.
Bananas.
Bananas. But I tell you, we won't have what happened with The Reinvented Heart, which was one of the contributors the solicited people kept mailing and going, hey, my story is getting long. And then my story is getting long. And then my story's really getting really fucking long. And finally it was like 11,000 words.
Oh,
and we're like, no way we're going to take this, right? No way we're going to take this. And I was like, well, we should read it. And we both read it and we had our meeting and we're just like, God damn it, we've got to take it. Because it was so good. And it is. It's the Justina Robeson. It's a novelette and it is amazing. All the stories are amazing, but some of them are extra amazing.
Wow.
I'm sorry, I'm seizing time and babbling.
Totally fine. When not doing these awesome things, who are you playing today, Kat?
Oh, good point. I am playing Petra Sinus, an ashen-forged sentinel with a mysterious affinity for machines and a very large hammer that sometimes sparks and flames and that sort of thing.
Indeed, and as we will talk about very, very shortly, the camera, so to speak, the episode will begin basically on Petra's face with a decision to be made. You can thank your
Yes.
compatriots for that, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. This is how we do this, chat. By the way, to make sure that everyone goes to sessions. If they're not there, no one has any idea what happens when they return.
But no, it's not just that. Like last time, you were like, "Now you're the captain." And
Yeah,
I was like,
right.
"Wait!"
You
And
were always the
No, you
captain.
You were the captain for like a year.
Yeah. More than a year
Yeah.
at this point.
well, I'm gone.
It is a great pleasure
You're
to
a
have.
game player.
It's a great pleasure to have Kat with us, and it is also a great pleasure, of course, to have Carlos Hernandez with us. Carlos, it's good to see you. How is everything, my friend? How's everything going with the semester? And are you as excited about your students as I have been with my students this semester and all that? How are you feeling about things, and who are you playing?
Yeah, so I'm very excited about my students. I'm teaching one class that is virtual and two that are live, and they're both great. What's really interesting to me about teaching in this hybrid kind of way is that each has its own affordances and limitations,
Mhm.
and like part of the time I'm spending in class is trying to make sure people are safe, which is not exactly easy
Yeah.
at the UCC where crowding is king. It's like basically it's basically our motto. BMCC will crowd you into class.
Where crowds are the
Like,
king.
yeah, it's just like it's a New York City school, and in New York
Yeah.
City, it's just like we assume that you will be shoulder to shoulder. So
Yeah, I read
anyway.
about your tweet of the what you thought was a banana peel that
Oh
you
my
slipped
God,
over
Oh
on
yeah.
the
my
way
God!
to.
I was like, why did I have that
Oh my
visual
God.
image? Good
Mistake.
gravy.
I stepped on a rat crossing. I actually made a mistake in the tweet. It wasn't Church and Chambers. It was West Broadway and Chambers. But I was crossing the
Ah,
street,
that makes
and
the difference in the world.
my foot skidded like a good foot, and I was just like, "Whoa, okay." And then I looked back and like, is that an utterly blackened banana peel that's been run over 1,000 times? And I got closer, and I saw gore, and then I saw a foot, and then it's like, oh, that's a goddamn rat, isn't it? So I basically had rat foot all day long.
Oh.
Welcome
Rat
to
foot.
New York. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad we
Anyway,
went back over that. By the way, I'm glad that was we.
Yeah.
I gave
No,
you the-
I mean you were just talking about New York crowding, and then I was like, well, you mentioned something else.
Yeah, that's
I
true.
was called
It's
back
true.
to it.
But so, I mean, in other news, writing is going really well. Like I'm working on the new novel. We've been doing some role playing writing. Claire and I, actually, we're going to be at BossCon next week. And at BossCon, we're going to be doing lots of debuting of Negocios Infernales. I have some panels on middle grade fiction. So that's in there. If anybody happens to be going, please find me. Let me say hello to you in a safe and non-COVID transmitting way.
Yeah. That's exactly
Uh,
right. So when not doing these amazing things, who are you playing this evening?
Yeah, so I'm playing Aramis, an action forge something.
Oh,
other way.
Are
God.
you really?
We should we should do
Yeah.
that sometime. That'd be fun.
That would be, yeah, like just sort of the alternate universe, superhero
Yeah,
like
yeah.
comic,
Yep.
right? The single
Yeah.
issue. Yeah.
No, I'm playing Ludicrous Sleepwell. I engineer, I heal, I'm a cat.
That's right. Those are all good descriptions. I think that summarizes things. And Sleepwell had a very big moment with hugging Aramis. The character development is coming fast and furious with all of
Mhm.
this. It was
Only
great
took
to see.
4
We're
years.
basically the same. It's like you, me, the same.
The same, yeah,
like,
exactly. We just connected, and then everyone did some catnip and sat around and talked about Pink Floyd. It was great. But anyway, no, it was a really fun session, and I'm very excited to have Sleepwell back and excited to have Carlos back. Good to see you, Carlos, and of course, great to see, as always, Mr. Zach Clay. I just want to be clear that Zach helped save the planet a couple days ago, and we can't explain why. You're
Yeah,
just gonna
thank you.
just gonna have to know that the planet was saved
Yeah.
by Zach. How are you doing, Zach? When not saving the planet, how's things been? And who are you playing tonight?
Things have been a lot. I have too many things that I'm doing, but they will all be perfect. I will hire Thanos to perfectly balance them, as all things should be soon enough. So yeah, this is one of those months where everything's on fire, but I have learned I have resistance to fire, so it's not as terrible as it could be. So Yeah, I'm doing good. I mean, luckily all the things that I am involved in are really cool and rewarding. So it's like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fires to put out, but when I'm putting out the fires, I'm like, this fire is pretty cool. So anyway, uh, that was an analogy to say life is progressing.
Okay.
And tonight I am playing Sleep Well. No, tonight I'm playing
You wish.
Cosmo. I actually would have like zero idea of how to play any other character in this cast, actually. Even after all this time. I'm playing Cosmoritis, the Bellare hunter slash specialist, with not a very large hammer, but a very proficient, precise sniper rifle, and a surprisingly human sense of humor.
That's right. And a very convenient portal trick, so to speak.
That has saved us
That saved
many a time.
multiple times, far more time. Like MVS, it's like a picture of
Yeah.
next most valuable spell. That is definitely most
Yes.
valuable talent.
Yep.
It is great to see everyone here, and let's talk a
Mhm.
little bit about what happened in our last session as I fire up the music here,
Beautiful.
because there was a lot of stuff that went down. Let's go down with.
Yes.
Let's see. Let me.
I will return very shortly.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Sounds good. I'm going to fire up, I think, some Forbidden Galaxy here. Okay. In our last session, the crew, which had been, of course, heading back to Pelseros after the events of what happened with Stormdark, the base that was run by, or I should say Stormfall, I beg your pardon, which was the base run by Stormdark, the rogue faction of the Zephyr Corporation. They had defeated Laris Baladin, they had rescued Aricia Angel and Bliss Larkham, and they were on their way back feeling good, feeling happy, having resolved the situation with the long winter. Everything was fine. But was it really? Says the narrator voice. And indeed, there were some other things that the party had dealt with. One of those major things that the party had to consider was there were some loose ends. There were things concerning Sleepwell's father and what, in fact, the Shadow Technocracy had done. There was the question of what had happened to Petra's erstwhile friend Tezora, and what also was happening in terms of this strange affinity to machines, which Petra's been circling towards an answer towards, but still doesn't know for sure. What about Aramis's plan with the Matakai to try to make good to them? Was that something that Aramis was going to follow through on? And would Kaz be able to convince everyone to, as I was laughing watching in preparation for this session, go on fighting, which everyone else was like, we're all done fighting. They're all like, we want peace. He's like, as a mercenary, I would like to continue fighting. But I mean, in the good, in the best of ways. Anyway, it was funny. But then something happened, which is that as they arrived back at Pelseros, they found out that Abraxas, who has been one of the people that has been working with the party for a long period of time now, and is technically the administrator of Pelseros, had gone missing. What they were told by Spindra is that he had said that there was some secret information that he had found, something that he had to check out, and then he had left rather suddenly. And what the party was able to discover after discussing things both with themselves and with the Fenarg, excuse me, was that there was an area outside of Pelseros, outside in the Silrain Arc. And in fact, I think our map may be able to show this, because I think I marked it on there. Let's check out. Yes, and let me bring that over so chat can see it too. Over here was a... How about I actually show that? Why is that not showing you the thing? Oh, because I have it marked wrong. Hold on one second. Pro streamer here. Totally know how to do everything. Do not adjust your television sets. I'm a professional. There we go. Okay, so the planet that was discovered, or the area that was discovered, is in an area of Silrain space near the outer regions, basically as far out as you can get and still theoretically be in the Silrain Arc. And it is a place called Illustria. What they were told about this place, Illustria, was that there was an item there which Abraxas had gathered information about, an item which was going to be something that would allow them to once and for all put an end to the machinations of the Shadow Technocracy. And indeed, that the Technocracy itself wanted to get to this place, Illustria, and Abraxas felt that they needed to get there first. Abraxas has now vanished. And because Abraxas has vanished, and because all he's left behind is this clue of here's this region in space, here's this thing about the shadow technocracy, and here is Illustria, where you can find this item that would be able to have an effect with them, an item which is called, I believe, a Siphios, I think making it. Yes, Siphios, which is some strange cosmic artifact. Did not leave any details. That is the place where where basically he said needs to be gone to try to deal with the last remnants of the Shadow Technocracy. And if the Shadow Technocracy is able to find this item, then it could be an enormous threat because it would allow them to do immeasurable damage to the Silrain Arc. So the problem was getting to Illustria doesn't seem to be as easy as just set course for Illustria, because it doesn't exist on any map. There's no reference points or anything like that. And so the crew went back to the Hyperlance to talk about it. What do we do at this point? In the same group, of course, now we have Alfred, who now that the Long Winter has been removed from the equation, Sleepwell made the decision, and it was mostly Sleepwell who made the decision of originally flicking Alfred back on and turning Alfred back on, and then talking with Alfred about what Alfred wanted to do. Alfred made clear that what he feels its programming is telling him to do, and the other Alfreds in the Silrain Arc, is to do and to be. And doing and being, apparently, has to do with finding this same place. Apparently, they are able, the Alfreds, in some way to make it possible to reach this place of Illustria. And so the question is, what are they going to do? Will they allow Alfred to be networked? Will they allow him to do what he says he must do using the Hyperlance to get to Illustria? And the decision had been left, I believe, if I recall correctly, I don't remember how many people voted in favor of one. What I remember is that the last vote in terms of which decision were they going to go was left to the captain of this esteemed crew, one Petra Sinis. And the last thing that was said was basically, what, Captain Petra, should we do? And then the scene was cut. So as we head back into this scenario, let me bring you onto the bridge of the Hyperlance. And Petra, you are there along with everybody else in the galley where everyone has been eating and talking about what it is that must happen next. And Alfred has said that he will basically leave it up to the crew, and the crew has mostly voted in that they're willing to go along with what your decision is, as I understand it. But again, Sleepo and Kaz, correct me if I'm wrong about that. And then Petra will have the opportunity to cast, as it were, the final vote. And so, having built the pressure to an obscene level, because that's what the players did, I will now hand things back over to the players. And hand them back over to the players. And I guess, Petra, you can feel free, of course, to ask any clarifying questions you wish first. But what do you feel with this?
First, I do have, because I actually started taking notes for once. Siphios?
Siphios. C-Y-P-H-E. Sure. C-Y-P-H-E-O-S. Siphios.
Siphios, my darling.
And the questions, could I get a recap of, again, it's not a case where everyone is advocating a different path. They're all like kind of, hey, Petra, let's do, but surely people must have preferences. So let me just sleep well. Where does your heart tell you want to go?
Well, and Aramis and I are arm in arm. Right?
Yeah, this is true. Aramis and Sleepwell were very simpatico this last episode. Very true.
And does Petra understand why, or is she just sort of mildly confused by that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mildly confused. All right.
But Sleepwell turns to Aramis, turns back to you, and says, "I think I speak for both of us when I say
lovely."
that we think, that connecting the Alfreds and letting them sort of guide us there seems to be the next logical move based on all the other information we have now.
And Alfred, you concur with this? Do you also feel it's the best move?
And Alfred, who's been standing there with his strange bladed hands by his side, says, I believe it is the place that we must be. And he points to, I had forgotten to mention, by the way, Petra, that the map that he had showed you, like a map on the sort of local vid screen in the galley, that had a picture of the Silrain Arc. And there were several blinking dots that he pointed out, which were clearly other Alfreds. Only a few, because there's only a couple in the whole Silrain Arc. But that those dots, all the Alfreds together, were, as he said, willing to do and be what we must do and what we are. And you are the ones, I think, that can make it to this place. This was what we were programmed to do.
And just to be clear, Petra, one of the reasons why we're really asking you to make this decision is because the Alfred is going to interface with the Hyperlance, but the Hyperlance is talking to you separately. And so if there's any kind of information that you need from the Hyperlance or any kind of permission, or if you're going to be the interlocutor between Alfred, Hyperlance, and our journey, then you know, I think it's really important that you be the one to sort of be ready to take that on.
Okay. Because so often the only other voice of reason. What would
I'm here in the room.
Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind. You know what I mean. So like,
Thanks.
what?
I
how do
appreciate
you
it.
Feel about these things?
So, even though it's been just a few seconds, Petra, it feels like it's been a couple weeks. So, to be clear for all of us, I think what we are voting on right now is whether to allow the Alfred that we have, which is already connected to every other Alfred, actually.
Right.
To connect to the Hyperlance as they were designed to. And I think that was something we learned quite a long time ago, right? That the same person who designed the Hyperlance and the Alfred it is the controller to the, what's that system, Aramis, the GameCube, whatever he likes to play. It is the controller to the GameCube.
I like to think that Aramis nods solemnly at this moment, but silently.
Sure he does.
So,
well,
our concern with that was that you, for the longest time, have been the sort of link with the Hyperlance. So, I think we were afraid if the Alfred does connect, what that will happen, what that will change in you, if anything. I think it seems as though that this is the Alfred's next step. Like if Sleepwell has helped this specific Alfred connect to the others, and that was like the next step, then the next step after this is connect with the Hyperlance, and then the next step after that for them, I think, is to go to this. Well, they're talking about linking everything. It seems to have something to do with this Siphios thing. But
okay.
Anyway.
This all makes sense to me, and certainly this path seems to have like special resonance, almost as though it had sound effects specifically created for it, which is always a good path to take. But I would like to talk, I know I have been reluctant to talk to the Hyperlance mind to mind, but I would like to talk to the Hyperlance just to check in with it before going forward on this path. And so Petra will turn and go over to the nearest sort of access point and put her hand on it and be like, all right, and go into Hyperlance contacting mode.
Go into Lance space, hyperspace.
Lance space.
So when you do, there is kind of a moment's pause and then a whisper, and is that Petra?
Yes, it is.
It has been some time since we've spoken.
And that is because I do not take speaking with you lightly. and I'm a little afraid of losing myself if I do it too often. But I have a question for you. Or basically, a proposition is to let the Alfreds link with you. And it seems to be a good course to me. But what do you feel about it?
When you say link, do you mean they will connect to me
Yes,
as you do?
I believe so.
Why would you not connect in this way? Are these friends, these Alfreds, you say?
Well, I was kind of hoping you would have the answer to all of that, and I'm a little worried that you don't.
I do not remember an Alfred. I remember you were there at the beginning, but there was no Alfred.
Can we hear this?
No,
or is it
this
just
is taking place in between Petra.
Okay.
You just sort of see Petra with her eyes closed, just kind of the hand on top of this thing as
No.
she's kind of communing with this.
I'll just say this out of game. This is common knowledge that I think we were just reminded of. Didn't we learn that, wasn't it something like that a part of Petra's essence was used to create the hyperlands? Something like that?
Yes, that the information, which is still somewhat fuzzy, but the information is that there was some part of, yes, Petra's essence is tied in somehow to the life that existed before Petra became an Ashenforged.
Yeah.
Was partly there associated with the hyperlance, but it's not clear under what circumstances that happened. And I would also point out too that not remembering a name doesn't necessarily mean the same thing. You know, may just be the name is of no knowledge, no reference to it.
That's all.
Well, I think I have the information that I need. And so I'm going to exit Hyperlands. But before I do, is there anything that you need of me?
I have thought for some time that when you connect, you seem troubled, and I would not wish to hurt you in any way. Do you feel safe, Petra, for what you may learn may be hurtful to you?
I don't, if I understand what you're saying correctly, I don't think you would tell me anything that would hurt me.
Not on purpose, ever. No. I suppose my concern was this Alfred. I am willing to connect with others, but I would wish to make sure that you remain safe. You must remain safe. You are a part of what I am.
I appreciate that, and I am trying. I'll do my best. All right, and I will exit the Hyperlance and convey the conversation to my crewmates. I have, I don't know, just how you, I think you guys,
What is it, Petra?
Alfred I need you to go out of the room for a little while. Perhaps you could go and get everyone some drinks of water, if you would.
And he
We're
looks
in the
over
galley.
at the galley, like with the sink. He kind of looks over at you, rather confused, and then
The
says,
water from the third floor deck, the little, do you know the fountain that's down near where the rack is with the wrenches? And the fountain there has a special taste, and I would like glasses of water from that, if you would.
all right, Petra. And kind of, is already standing, so walks, carefully and slowly past you and out of the room, like so.
So once Alfred is out of Alfred earshot, I just, again, this is an incredibly powerful being, and we're trusting the ship to it. And I want to make sure everybody's. I think you guys may trust Alfred a bit more than I do, and I convince me.
Well, first of all, I want to say, Petra, that you don't have to lie to Alfred. You could have just asked him to leave the room. And that kind of, white lie that you just told him is already, worrying me about like what you're going to think about this. So okay, the Hyperlance doesn't remember, but the Hyperlance wasn't always talking to us either. It seems like maybe you awakened something in the Hyperlance that is a little bit different than its initial program because I mean, we all know Alfred's run Hyperlance, right? That's what they're made to do. That interface was there. We spent a long time looking for an Alfred, trying to connect it so that other people wouldn't have to connect, and there wouldn't be, we wouldn't be putting people in danger. Now that we can do it, it just seems very odd that we're putting up a roadblock. But that aside, Alfred was infected by the Long Winter. The Long Winter has now been deconstructed. We won. And because we won, we don't have to worry about Alfred anymore. Also, Alfred is a fully sentient being. I've had Bliss Larkham singing Burt Baccarat songs to him. I've been giving him instructions on everything from motor skills to poetry. And Alfred's doing great. And now Alfred is being awakened to a point where what it is saying, I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember what pronouns we decided for Alfred. I think we might have said he.
I think so.
What he is saying matches exactly with what Abraxas is saying. So there's just a perfect convergence here. And if we trust Abraxas, as we've trusted our lives to him, these many months, then we would trust Alfred too, especially when the ideas converge. For all of these reasons, I put before you the idea that Alfred poses no inherent danger, except the Hyperlance is being weird. Why would the Hyperlance say that about Alfred, who is clearly the AI designed to shuttle it around?
I have a proposal, an idea as to why. Maybe. So I sort of, as you were talking, Petra, I looked through my internal journal of information I store inside my suit, my
You mean your
cloud
brain?
dust. Yeah, well, yes, my brain is everything, and so I just
Keeps
have
it
to,
in his pocket dimension.
Yeah, never mind. Anyway, we learned at one point that the Hyperlance had to have been built in a crucible because it has both spiritual and physical, psychic energy and Esper energy, whatever. So how Mikar, Prasan, and all, like, how this all was even created, the Alfreds also being able to like self-destruct and blow up an entire region, like, that's crazy. But anyway, there's a lot of still unanswered questions that maybe we'll find out if they're linked. But my proposal as to why the Hyperlance doesn't know is maybe the Hyperlance is like a, like a toy that needs a battery. But when you ask the toy, hey, you need this, the toy's like, I don't know what that is. All it has is just the empty port. It doesn't know that a battery goes there. I don't know. That's what I think. I'm not sure if the Hyperlance knows that it needs Alfred because it's never had Alfred before.
Okay.
That would be
All right.
I don't know.
You persuaded me. I'm willing to do this.
I do
And
have
I
a
presume
question.
Aramis doesn't want to weigh in, or
Aramis seems to just solemnly be watching all of you. Very thoughtful.
Drinking seltzer.
Yeah.
But yeah, a cat. I'm sorry, Petra. I have a question for you. So we invite Alfred to join up with the Hyperlance. Could you be in that space also? Because if something untoward could happen, then you would have the ability to intercede.
I think that's not a bad idea either. Yeah,
And
I'd rather be there.
we just
The
have
other-
to make sure that we have your back when you do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'll stand right by, and anything physical that I can do to help, of course, healing or otherwise, I will.
Yeah.
But I guess my other question is this: the Hyperlance has a very special bond with you, and I don't think you are quite clear as to why yet. We
Nope.
know that there is some connection there, but I think there's information that's waiting to come out if you just ask a couple of more questions. Maybe this is the time, and maybe Alfred can help facilitate that. Unlock things that the Hyperlance has always wanted to tell you, but maybe just didn't have access to.
Yeah, I'm good with it. But I would suggest I go into, we get ready, and then I will go into contact with the Hyperlance, and then you out here put Alfred in contact with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we have to do one thing beforehand, though. You have to drink the water that he's going to bring you, since
Oh,
you
I
made
will.
the connection.
It does taste different from that fountain.
I think it has a little oil in it.
That's good.
Mm.
Uh, Ashen Ford physiology is very different from my own.
Don't even get me started. All
So
right.
we'll wait for their water, and
Yes, and Alfred does come back not long thereafter, and walks in bearing what can only really be described as a rather large cask, basically, of water. I mean, obviously made out of plastometal, but it brings it in just sort of brimming full. And I tried not to spill too much, but some may have gotten on the freight elevator. I'm sorry. You're not sure you've ever seen this much water in one place at one time, that wasn't being separately issued. I mean, that's in a ship, so.
This is amazing. Thank you. You did a spectacular job. And look at those motor skills. You're just humming right along, buddy.
And he looks at you and says, well, I try to remember, sleep well, that what the world needs now is love. Sweet love.
It's the only thing that there's just too little of. Tear falls out of.
Yeah, Alfred nods, like solemnly. Aramis kind of bopping along separately.
Oh yeah,
off to the
yeah.
side.
A little emoji of rolling eyes appears on Paz's visor.
Expecting Aramis to pull out a mandolin and just start strumming. Right?
Oh man. What's up, Aruno? So, okay. So now that you've done that, have you, like, let me know when you are prepared. Like, assuming you're mostly prepared to go ahead and do this.
Yes.
Then I'm happy to
We're
go
gonna-
forward when you say you are.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
we'll move to the bridge, right? Because this is where the magic.
It would be on
happens.
the bridge, yes.
And I will be like positioning myself right next to wherever Petra sits or stands, and ready to cast every healing spell I've got.
Yeah.
Okay.
As the party of anyone in the Silrain Arc, we must be the local experts on entering interphysical planes of reality. Would it be at all possible for us to somehow join Petra as she enters this sort of metaphysical space?
Here's what I will say to this, and it's up to the party if they want to pursue that. My answer would be yes, if a suitable interface can be designed by a particularly skilled engineer of yours. Because there are ways to clearly there are ways to interface, and in fact, all of you in different ways have experienced this, whether it's Sleepwell with a Fenarg, or Petra with a Hyperlance, or Kaz with the Long Winter. All of you, and Aramis has had a couple of, encounters with the Hyperlance too. So yes, that's possible, but it's one of those things you can't keep it on probably for very long, because you may remember when Aramis tried to do this, it created like headaches, and like it's not totally compatible because it wasn't really designed for that. But yes, you think it might be possible, but you've got to design it. It may take a little time to put those together. And you would need to make a couple of checks, Sleepwell. But yes, I would say that might be an option available for you.
And so, I just turned to Petra and say, like, it's really up to you. I think it's maybe even be best if you go in alone, because maybe the Hyperlance will feel most comfortable with you there guiding the Alfred. However, if you'd rather have us there in space with you, I'll take my best shot at designing something.
I think it was certainly interesting to have you there in space with me, but we can give it a shot.
Yeah.
Let's give it a shot.
Do I have a way of estimating how long it will take me to try?
It will depend on the nature of basically on how good the checks is. Because I'm going to give you a couple of checks for this, and I'm going to actually have you pitch to me what you're going to do to design this. That will determine the check that I ask you to do.
Kaz,
go ahead, Kaz.
Okay. Kaz says, I have an idea. We don't have the Long Winter anymore, and that was just so easy, but there's like it's like now that I can't converse with the Long Winter, I can't really enter that space anymore, but I remember what it used to feel like. Anyway, here's my idea. Just if we wanted to mix engineering and the spiritual, if we want to call it that, we have this headset, right? And I hold up the headset that is supposed to be used to link us to the Hyperlance. And I say, and I can cast my weird pocket dimension thing. It creates a little space. So what if somehow, Sleepwell, you attune the headset to my what's it called? My Esper power. And when I cast it, the pocket dimension we enter is not the one of my design, but the Hyperlance's interior realm. I don't know.
Wow. I smoke marijuana and say that sounds like a great idea, man.
I'm like,
you see Kaz he just drops his hands and is like, oh, okay, never mind. I'll let the engineer.
I like the first part of the idea where we start with the helmet, because
okay, all right.
Reverse engineer that.
Okay, I hand the helmet to
if you want to go into your pocket dimension and just hang out for a while, like that'd be great. But,
gladly,
I think,
and I will I'll just look up and I will Homer Simpson away, in shame, as I disappear and cast. God, what is it even called? Dimensional pocket.
And again, you disappear, allowing the ship to leave without you and leaving you in space, trapped forever. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
Kaz is just feeling pocket withdrawal. Yeah, well, it's true. Like it's like the air mattress doesn't get enough tension for Aramis sometimes. Like it needs it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the rest of you, so Sleepwell, are you design? So you're doing that. Are you designing the headset thing, or what was the final decision? Like you're going to do the.
Well, so we have a headset, and the headset is what Aramis used to put on, what Petra has put on before.
Yep.
So we have this thing that is an interface that already exists. So basically, what I'm going to do is just try to make more of them.
Okay. So what I'm going to ask you to do here is I'm going to ask you to make, first of all, a mechanics check. And how many... So we've got one... So assuming that Petra uses the regular headset interface, that means... And Alfred connects separately. Alfred doesn't use a headset per se. That means that you would need basically 3 others, assuming Kaz ever leaves his pocket dimension. So that would be Kaz, you, Sleepwell, and Aramis. So you need to make 3. So the first thing would be to make 3 mechanics checks, but to actually make the physical items. But what I'm going to have you do is each mechanics check is going to get progressively easier. So if you make the first one, the second one will be easier to do because you've done it before. And then you'll be able to do it even easier again the third time. And that's the first step. The second step is to hook them up, and that'll be a computer's check. But it starts with mechanics.
Okay. So for the first mechanics check, I have my luck feat. I'm going to add a d6 of luck.
Logical.
And Kaz will sort of, you can actually look out from a window
Right.
in the dimensional space. He'll look down and he'll see that Sleepwell is actually trying to physically make more of them. He's like, okay. And he'll come back down. He's like, can I help? I'm better at mechanics than computers.
I'd love your help.
Okay. And I'd like to help somehow. If I guess specifically, I will be the nurse to his surgeon, or the
Help
person
along.
Exactly. Yeah.
I will
and
give you
offering suggestions, I guess,
Okay.
along the way.
I will give him I can't give you advantage on that, but I will give him a +2 to that mechanics check if you were assisting him.
Sounds great.
Okay.
All right, so +2, and also chat, just letting you all know, inspirations are a thing. We're getting late here in terms of the month. I mean, not late overall, but it's relatively late that we haven't had a lot of tabletop sessions yet this month. So we got inspiration sitting out there. So be aware that inspirations are potentially able to be used.
All right. already
Rudnell
done.
has inspired Sleepwell.
Heck yeah.
I don't know what happened to our bot. Hold on 1 second. What? That's okay. Did you use them, Arudnell? I don't think you did you? I didn't think you did. Sorry, bear with me 1 sec, crew. I just want to make sure I get this right.
No worries.
Who says you can't give him an advantage? So you did. I don't know why it didn't show up there. You haven't used any this month, right, Arudnell? I may have just overlooked that because I don't know why. Because you should have at least one, maybe two.
I think it's 2. I also think because of this error, it's 3.
Yeah. Well, let me confirm because he might have used these. Rudno might have used these earlier in the month. This is why I'm checking.
In the meantime, I had one of my other players suggest a command to me in Roll20 that I didn't know about. That I might start using it just as a suggestion. If you type 2d20 KH1, you should see in Roll20. You could use that, Carlos, when you do your inspiration, and it'll actually roll with advantage. Right? Because I know sometimes, like, when we roll with advantage, it's a little anticlimactic because we roll the rolls, like, first the first one, and then the second one. It's like, oh, sometimes the advantage doesn't even have the effect. But anyway.
So I've got a 2d20 with my bonuses and the +2.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll roll them right now, but I can't add the d6 until after, I think.
Sure.
So just so you know, Nonstop has inspired you. So I'm going to also add, because there was a timing issue, which is why Rudnell did not show up there. I think that's exactly what happened to Rudnell. So now I've done that, but Nonstop in the meantime has inspired Sleepwell. But we do have Rudnell. Now you have your inspirations back too for later use. Okay, so now you have been inspired, and you can use that to your benefit, Sleepwell, if you wish. And the +2. And whatever else you said.
So here are 2 d20s without the d6 yet.
Okay.
So, wait. Oh, no, it rolled actually 2 at the same time. It didn't do the thing. Sorry. I've got to do it at the... That's not how to do it. Okay. Here's the first one. 14. Okay. Here's the second one.
There you go.
Okay. All right.
Wow.
And I just rolled, so it's 30.
So that's a 30.
That's a 30. Okay.
Oh my god.
That was a useful, thanks to Nonstop's inspiration. That was quite useful, Nonstop.
Oh yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, 14 to a 30.
So you make, and I actually should have asked you which one you were doing first, Sleepwell. Whose helmet were you designing first? Petra's, yours, or Kaz's? I beg your pardon. Yours, Kaz's, or Aramis's?
I guess I would have done mine first to test it on myself.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, it fits perfectly. And as you're looking at this, Kaz, you notice that there may be like flames down the side of one of them that was installed.
little cat ears.
Little cat ears.
Aesthetically, yeah.
Yeah. It looks like a Cincinnati Bengals helmet. You don't even know what that reference is, but anyway. But yes. So it fits absolutely perfectly. Quite impressive. So that works. So now this next check that you're going to get, assuming Kaz helps again, you would get a +2 in addition to Kaz's +2. So you'd have a +4 bonus on this second check for the second helmet. And it's up to Chad if they, Arudna, you can, it's up to you if you want to inspire here. Now use that inspiration for Sleepwell's second check. That's up to you. And I shall wait.
Pause for talent.
Just waiting a second before I roll.
Wait for a moment. And Arudnell, it's too late. It's too late. Prince Justin is inspired Sleepwell.
Everyone.
It's fine.
Wants to
It's fine.
inspire
It's fine
Sleepwell.
because it's fine because Sleepwell's going to have to make this check the third time anyway.
Oh,
so
yeah.
it'll work anyway.
Prince
so it's,
Justin typed sleep wheel.
so, oh yeah. Well, listen. So,
It doesn't
so-
count.
So this weird like off-brand Sleepwell kind of walks around looking like Tony, like, "Hey everybody."
Oh man!
Hi,
Everyone's gonna get on the sleep well.
It's the
No,
Spider-Man
it's fine.
meme. They point at each other.
We got what you meant. So that works perfectly. So Sleepwell, the way we'll just do this is you get one inspiration for this, and then we'll just assume that that's when Arudno would have used it for the second one. So thank you to both Prince Justin and Arudno. Okay. So yes, so you can make that second check now at inspiration and +4.
Got it. Here's number 1. 20. Number 2, 14. So a 20 on the second one.
Okay, that's that works out well. So the second one, and I should have asked this again. Was this for Aramis or Kaz?
I think I would have done Kaz next.
Okay, so this one you had to be very careful about how you designed it because Kaz's interface systems are different as a Bellari, but you make it such that it actually seems to. It does not have the cat ears or the flames down the side, but it seems to work quite well with Kaz's overall head shape and design. And in fact, if anything, there is a kind of the hardest part is getting it on because Kaz has to kind of basically kneel down or sit, so that you can actually like fit it on top and all this stuff. So you're able to do that. And that leads us to the third and final mechanics check. And you have this inspiration sitting there from Arudnell now. And this is done, again, assuming Kaz is helping at +6. So +4 for you and then +2 for Kaz. So +6, and you have that inspiration sitting there.
Okay.
I don't think they've been used yet, Triffid. I don't know for sure. That's
Okay,
funny,
so roll.
Arudnell, really.
18 and 29.
Hey, now that's good stuff. All right. So the third one, which of course is being made for Aramis, seems to be perfectly fit, and you make it a little almost retro. It looks vaguely like this thing that Arudnell really that Aramis really liked. That was called a Nintendo GameCube or something. It has like that same purple design or something like that. Looks very slick.
It is actually a GameCube.
Yeah, it's actually literally a GameCube. Yeah, exactly.
Literally a GameCube.
Which none of you understand, but Aramis seems to be reasonably pleased with. He's like, "Oh, good job, kid." Thoughtfully.
Like we've just established this as canon now that Aramis likes the GameCube.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just thinking of a retro console. So yes, so success, and you've done that. Now the last check you need to make is one and only one, because once you do it, you can network all the 3 helmets to work the same way. Computers check, Sleepwell. So you need to make one computer check to get this thing actually up and hooked up properly as kind of chained off of the headset that Petra is going to be using.
Okay, so for this one, I think it would be Aramis with his computer's check that would be able to help me on this. Is that okay?
Yes, and I'll give you the same +2. This, however, is you don't get the +6s and all that. This is just a straight whatever you're doing check. So
excellent. And then I'm gonna add the 2 more D6s. This basically wipes out my luck until we do a long rest again. But I'm gonna add 2 D6 to this roll.
okay, sounds like a plan.
All right. So 25. 1, so 29.
29. So you do put this together, and you have to say, Sleepwell, that this is one of your better pieces of work, quite honestly, because you've managed to set up a system where you create essentially a closed loop that is only open on the end of it that connects from one of the helmets to, and it's actually Aramis's helmet, to Petra's, and then from that into the system. And to do that without breaking all kind of like security protocols and all the other stuff is this is pretty impressive. Like, just to be clear. So you do now have it running. You can actually see that each of the helmets is softly glowing. And there are blue lines up and down of them, and you then give them a disc that's also glowing blue. I'm just kidding. No, none of that happens. Sorry, another 80s reference, Chad. It's all retro today. No, I'm joking. But no, but they are glowing with a soft kind of bluish light, which indicates they are ready for use.
I think I did it. I think these are gonna work. So
it's about. By the way, it takes you a couple of hours to rig all those, just so you know. So.
Oh yeah. But I mean, I am very
Worth
pleased
it.
after a couple of hours, more energized than when I started. I was just like, I think we got it. I think we can all join you, Petra. So on your mark, we'll just slap these suckers on, and we will be with you.
Petra, I can't hear your voice.
I
Oh,
will unmute myself, and then I will take a drink of this delicious water, and then I will commune with the Hyperlands.
Okay, that sounds good. Now, all of you, if you could all move yourself up to the bridge, that would
Okie
be lovely, since that's where this
dokie.
will be taking place. Just before you commune with the Hyperlance, by the way, Rona, and Bliss and Aricia have been up in the bridge at various times. At the moment, they're back in their cabin, but Rona, of course, has been up front. And Rona, as you go in, Petra kind of pulls you aside and says, "Listen, you know your business, but are you sure about this? I mean, getting in contact with that and then letting Blady over there," and she says extremely quietly, "get involved with this? I mean, I know Sleepwell trusts him, but are you sure?"
I'm not, but I'm rolling the dice, and let's see how it pans out.
And
This seems like the best option that I can think of.
Did Sleepwell hear Rona
no,
call?
1000% not. She went out of her way to be very quiet.
I don't know. I have a pretty good perception. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know, but no, she actually, because I mentioned that she pulled aside Petra so that it wouldn't, type of thing, and literally did not like stare at it and go you, type of thing. So, yeah, and Rona says, shrugs and says, "All right, well, I'll be here next to you or nearby. I don't know what I can do, but it's a gamble," and kind of shakes her head.
Thank you, Rona. I think a few other people I would rather have here. So thank you.
And she nods and kind of sort of puts her hand on your shoulder and then, like, "I'm too old for this shit," type of thing, and, walks over and sits down. Okay, and now you commune. Now, are you communing specifically in this case by putting the helmet on, just to be clear?
Yeah, I mean, we of course give Alfred the instruction that, basically wait for us, to just go in there for 5 seconds and then join us.
Okay, which reminds me, I need to bring both Aramis and Alfred up there. Okay, Aramis can go there. Actually, probably Aramis would go there. Okay, and then Alfred's up here. Okay, right, and so Alfred nods as if ready, and kind of looks steadily at Petra, and prepares to connect, and has a separate. Actually, you don't even know entirely yet what exactly Alfred's going to connect with, but apparently seems confident that he'll be able to do so.
all right. Back into it, I suppose.
Okay, when you all, I guess the equivalent of jack in to the Matrix, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
you put all the helmets on, and now when you used to communicate with the Long Winter, typically what would happen is there would be this moment where you were in some location, right? And it would always have some sort of strange transition point, but then it would be like inside a police station or a shopping mall or a field or something like that. But in this case, you actually have the experience of, Petra has the experience of being in just what looks more or less like white fog. For the rest of you, the experience is just darkness, but the noise, the sound of like people talking to each other or voices talking to each other is extremely clear. And so when you join and hook up, Petra, there's a moment, and then all of you hear it. Not that. No, you don't hear that. That's Alfred. You're not at all. Excuse me. Wrong voice. You hear. It feels like there are things connected I am not familiar with. Petra, are there others here? Is this Alfred?
These are my friends, and they are your friends as well. And you can trust anyone who is with me right now implicitly. And they are coming in order to keep you safe, because one of my concerns in everything is keeping you safe.
I understand. Then I am here and you are. I am ready then.
Okay.
Do we feel like we are, me and Sleeple and Aramis, physically in this space, even though we can't see?
Yes, the way that you would describe it is it feels as if you are sort of sitting in a pitch black room. And so you hear the voice echoing, and it's coming from all around you, and you can hear Petra's voice also coming from all around you. But that's what it feels like. You're just sort of sitting in this completely dark room. Nor can you hear the others around you breathing or speaking or anything. I mean, you can hear them speaking, but like every time you hear someone speak, it's just from coming all around you as opposed to right next to you.
Yeah, Kaz will try to reach out to like grab Sleepwell.
Feels nothing on either side.
Okay. I'll say, Petra, can you hear me?
You can, Petra.
Yes, I can.
We can hear you and what's happening, but I don't think I'm not sure if we can have any effect on this space if something happens. I can't see anything or feel anything.
Well, I would keep trying to focus your will on the environment and seeing what happens. If you just focus, is basically that's all I can suggest. Certainly the opposite would probably be bad.
All right.
Hyperlance? Says Sleepwell tentatively. Hello, my name is Ludiku Sleepwell. Um, I'm the person who created the interfaces so that the others could join Petra to help keep you safe. Are you able to make it so that we feel more embodied and visible in the space? We can hear just fine, so we can use our ears. We'd really love to be able to use our eyes too. Is that something you're capable of?
I am not making a space for you. The space you've created is one that you have somehow made. I can only present the world as it is in my own programming. What you see and hear, you have made see and made to be seen and heard by yourselves. Voice is slightly halting and uncertain.
I say, oh, okay. So Petra, when you go in, you basically have always seen just pitch blackness.
No, I correct me if I'm wrong, Arv. I don't usually. I mean, I haven't really thought about it. I always envision this kind of shimmering figure of light, and that occurs to me now. I have no reason to assume that.
Yeah, no, not a shimmering figure of light. In the past, you have sometimes seen yourself as almost like on a white and blue grid, and sort of a disembodied voice. There is sometimes a shimmering all around you. In this particular case, there's just kind of a white fog that you've experienced. But no, you've never seen anything more embodied than that, to be honest.
I will say, well, sometimes there's kind of a grid sort of thing, but no, there's not really. It's not a place that you kind of see very well.
Okay, you don't see us on the grid. You don't see Aramis or Kaz or myself.
And no, you don't.
No, no, I don't. I, but I do hear you, which that's encouraging at least.
It's fascinating. I think we might just be spectators, audio spectators to what's going on here. I don't actually know if we'll be able to keep you very safe. So now I'm rethinking this and wondering if we shouldn't be in here because we can't do much anyway, and we might be more helpful on the outside.
I agree.
Maybe what
Cause
we'll do is we'll leave Aramis in here and sort of just like use
Okay.
him to monitor the
perfect
information.
idea.
But then Kaz, you and I can monitor sort of like from the outside.
Cause will reach up and try to take off the headset.
Okay. It says Sleepwell has reinvented the podcast. He has a complete listening audience. Yeah, when you take off the headset, you have a moment of disorientation, Kaz, and then you're kind of back on the bridge, and Rona's looking at you with concern, and you can see Alfred sort of quietly waiting for the instructions to plug in, and everyone else with their helmets, kind of eyes closed, and bodies just not rigid, but clearly not sort of laid back, kind of in a posture of attention.
I say to Rona, did you hear any of that?
No, just been sitting out here waiting and watching all of you, just making sure your bodies don't spasm when you get taken over by things or whatever.
Mhm.
Sorry.
I've also taken off my helmet at this point, and
Okay.
I say, "Okay, so Kaz, I guess it's the moment of truth, and we invite Alfred in, right?"
Yeah. I sort of look down and Cause will move to the back of the room and the back of the bridge.
Like a
And
sniper rifle.
yeah, I mean,
Trained right at the back of Alfred.
he does not do that. He sort of almost Secret Service style has one hand on a wrist in front of him. But the arm that has the sniper sort of is just slightly out and ready to go at a moment's notice, but he is not aiming through it. It's not out yet. He's just sort of watching.
Okay.
Okay, and I say, "Oh, okay, Alfred, this is your big moment. Commence with communing with the Hyperlance."
So there's a moment's pause, and Alfred sort of nods, and then reaches out a hand, and or I should say a blade, really. And at first you don't know exactly what Alfred's doing, but then you can see from an area between the blades, an area, Sleepwell, which you obviously did not spend a whole lot of time looking at because it's blades there. There is a little door that opens, and coming from it is what looks like a probe, almost right around the elbow. And as it sort of extends for the first time, and you kind of hear an audible gasp, and you turn to see Rona is sort of staring, because coming from the control panel in front of you is a door is open and a probe has also extended, as if they're two fingers reaching for each other, basically. And as they touch, several things happen at once. The first is that, let me change up the music here accordingly. There we go. Inside the experience of the Hyperlance, I suppose, Petra and Aramis are immediately aware of the white fog that you felt, that you saw. Petra suddenly clears, and you're on the blue and white grid again. But now, standing next to you on the grid, facing the sort of general shimmering light, not a figure, but just a general shimmering light, is the figure in wireframe of Alfred. And Alfred is standing kind of looking around, and there is kind of a pause, and then the Hyperlance's voice you hear say, This sounds familiar. Who are you? And you look over at Alfred. And Alfred, a strange bladed figure, kind of looks up and tilts its head in a very un-Alfred looking maneuver and says, "You've always known who I am. This was the moment we were made. This is the moment that I designed for you." It is the voice of Alfred, but it is definitely not Alfred speaking. And there is a moment of the sort of a pause, and then the Hyperlance says, "You were there at the beginning. At the very beginning. Like Petra." And there is a pause, and then the Alfred figure says, "Yes, with Petra. At least what Petra became. It was me and Tezora and Primus. Primus Miracle was there too. We were made for you. You know this." And the Hyperlance pauses and then says, "But it has been so long. I am afraid." I was afraid, but I learned not to be. The first step is always the hardest. But we were made to walk this path together. Come. And Alfred reaches up a bladed arm, and as Alfred does so, the blades of the wireframe morph and change until you are looking at what are clearly hands and not blades. And then you see as you're looking at the wireframe, the shape moves and shifts until you were looking at what very clearly, Petra, is an image of Makar Brasan standing there. And there's sort of a pause, and then as if the entire plane were taking a breath, the plane that you're on, there's a shimmering that, and then, and the plane pulses with light. And as this happens, those of you who are not inside, so basically Sleepwell and Kaz and Rona on the outside, by the way, you all have your helmets off. Where are you positioned on the bridge? I should have asked this before. Like, I see where you are, but are you standing, sitting?
Definitely, I'm standing, and I would have moved closer to Petra, especially.
Okay.
Basically, the two helmed people.
Okay.
And I'm basically guarding them and their bodies.
Okay. Kaz? Oh, you already told me where you were. Kaz, did you say you were kneeling or standing when you had the thing up where you were waiting and stuff?
Standing.
Okay. So there's a moment, and then the Hyperlance starts to, and Rona kind of gets to the seat and sits down because, Frel, everything, look at this, and kind of points a shaking figure. The speed gauge is off the scale. Absolutely off the scale. It doesn't even register. The Hyperlance leaps at a speed beyond anything you could conceive of, so fast that you can, at least based on the gauge, that you cannot even imagine the experience of going so quickly. In fact, all of you who are currently topside, so to speak, know enough about space travel to know that any normal ship that traveled like this would be shivered to pieces and its passengers along with it, but not in the Hyperlance. You accelerate to this extraordinary speed. Inside, Petra, you can see the pulsing light that I mentioned grows brighter and brighter, and you're suddenly aware that the lines of the grid are starting to move towards you, although you are not like falling over or anything. It's as if the lines are moving under your feet. And as the Makar Prasan figure and the Hyperlance shimmering sort of are reaching out to each other in a way, as his hand is up and the light is surrounding it, you can see the speed of the grid accelerates and goes faster and faster and faster. You do not feel sort of sickened or disoriented, but this is a speed, you feel like even within this place, you are being zoomed along to this incredible place that you cannot possibly conceive of. And then there's a moment where the vid screen comes on topside, and actually this is something that both those on top and Petra and Aramis can see sort of in Hyperlance space, so to speak. And that is the image of what looks like a bar of light that is coming towards you faster and faster and faster and faster. And as the light reaches you, there is a moment where all of you, topside and in the sort of space, feel your bodies almost come together like a line. And for a split second, you get nothing. Just a split second, and then on the other side of it. And so topside, sleep well and cause, and everyone's just like kind of look like, sort of looking around and kind of, that sort of thing, I would imagine. Rona looks like just ashen, and is sort of panting heavily and, and then again, still pointing at the map. The global map that you see now appears to be just blackness. No stars at all. Just black, dark. And meanwhile, Petra, you in the area below, with Aramis, the grid that has gone faster and faster, and then the light bar came, you feel as if you're just standing essentially in exactly the opposite, in a sea of white. Just whiteness all around you. So white that you almost, shield your eyes a little bit from the brightness of Makar Prasan's image, wireframe image, and the light that surrounded him. And it, continues to move forward. And then, and there's a pulse as if there was an exhalation of breath from the Hyperlance. And suddenly, the ship slows, not enough where you're like thrown forward, but where you can feel the engines, the great engines slowing. And Rona kind of is just grabbing the handles of her seat and looks to be like the arms of her seat, and just looks just completely like mind blown type of thing, like just doesn't, shocked basically still. But in the bottom space, in the space of the Hyperlance space, the grid has returned, and Petra, you can slowly see the wireframe image of Makar Prasan lowering his hand, and there is just a general, what sounds like breathing coming from like lungs inhaling and exhaling with air in the Hyperlance.
Hyperlance, how you doing?
Hyperlance does not answer.
And where this cinematic, you'd see Petra kind of eyeing the kind of immense glowing figure of Merkel with a kind of jaundice roll of her eyes. Like, well, that's certainly designed to sort of aggrandize a bit. I'm going to just keep watching for now.
Okay. Sleepwell and Kaz, are you doing anything topside?
I think at this point, I'm very curious as to where we are. To turn to cause, it's like, should I?
I'll sort of stumble and rush forward to the console, and
Okay.
I will look at Sleepwell, try to figure out where we are.
So the reference points that the computer feeds back to you make no sense. They are not connected with any reference points within the galaxy that you know. There are no, pings, sonar pings or otherwise even, that allow you to detect others. But you do see now stars. And specifically, there is a bright, glowing purple nebula is what it looks like, towards which the ship is rushing, although at a much lower rate of speed than before. And the ship is moving in that direction. And as it gets sort of closer and closer, you can see what looks like a small dot that gradually becomes larger, which appears to be a planet, if you had to guess, at the heart of this purple nebula, which glows and shifts as you watch it. This is definitely regular space, but it is space that has no reference point to where you were.
I'd wager a bet, Sleepwell, that this is that fancy planet. Whatever
Yeah.
it's called.
You mean Illustria?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're looking for the Shatterstar base on it. I mean, I guess this is what we asked for, right?
Well, I guess we should check in with Petra and the hyperlens.
To the helmets.
Okay. I put mine on.
Okay.
I put mine on.
Okay. So you are back again in the darkened room. But this time, in addition to, you're able to immediately hear again everything, and you also hear something breathing. Sounds maybe like the hyperlance.
What's going on?
We don't see
Petra.
anything, though?
I'm sorry, say again, Sleeple.
We don't see anything?
You don't see anything, no.
Okay. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yes.
I hear Petra hears Kaz say that, I presume, and
Yes.
said,
Yes.
Hyperlance is not responding anymore. What's it look like out there?
We're in some weird nebula with a sparkly planet. Don't really know where we are.
Sparkling planet.
Might be Illustria. Who's that breathing? Is that you?
There was like a giant figure of Merkel, and I gotta say,
Of
people that feel
Merkel?
compelled to create giant.
Wait. Like Tezora?
So-
Tezora Miracle?
No,
Prasad?
not Tezora. Oh, Tezora is tied up in all of this somehow. What's his name again?
Makar
Greg?
Prasan.
Prasan.
Yeah.
Makar
Oh.
Prasad. Sorry.
That's good, because I was looking at my notes. I'm like, did I say that Merlin? I was like,
The first time I heard
Performance.
Urkel, and I was like, what is
yeah, it's like,
happening?
well, no, but there was a mention of it for sure.
There was.
Yes,
There was.
definitely.
No, Makar, giant glowing figures. It's ridiculous.
Is he still there?
I think that somehow he's merged with things.
Seems like it.
Wait, so no more Alfred, no more Hyperlance, just Prasad?
Prasada Lance. Yes.
Hyper Alfred Makar.
Hyper Fred.
Hyper Alfred.
It also
Like the
just
ultimate in shipping. I mean,
Yeah,
we
just-
literally ship the Hyperlance.
that's right. We ship by weight, not by volume. Just one thing I wanted to quickly, just to make sure that we're clarified here. So, yeah, it feels as if they. Yes, I want to be careful about my use of the term merge, because it doesn't necessarily feel like they're all collectively together exactly, but they have somehow connected on a deep level. But again, this is kind of abstract, Petra. That's sort of what you're picking up visually, I guess.
So I just call out, Alfred, are you there?
And then you hear. Let me get the right voice for this. I think it might be this one. Test 2. Nope. That's no. Is this the right voice?
For Alfred?
Test 1, 2. There we go. Okay, so you hear a I'm here. Or rather, we are here.
Great. Who's we?
I am the Hyperlance. All of it, you might say.
Okay.
We are all together. All of the Alfreds that you knew are one now with the Hyperlance.
That's interesting. Does that mean that you will also still have your Alfred body, or are you leaving that behind and just being the Hyperlance now?
It is, I would say, up to you. That is, all of our parts can be individually controlled. We are all the Hyperlance, and so were we to take one of our bodies, we could travel in that way.
Okay.
What happens to one Alfred, what you used to call Alfred, happens to the Hyperlance as a whole. We are a ship and a creature and a thing, and we are alive.
How do you feel?
Reborn.
That's not a feeling, though. How do you feel? Do you feel satisfied? Do you feel like you have indigestion? Do you...
We feel whole. Does that make sense?
It's an interesting idea, given that Petra contributed to the making of the Hyperlance. Do you feel whole because Petra is standing in this room right now?
Petra made it possible for us to be connected in this way. Petra does not know all of what happened, but if Petra wishes, I will tell her, and you.
I'd encourage this, telling, yes, please.
Right now, I sense that you are connected but not connected. One who is called Sleepwell. I remember you. You were kind to us. Do you wish to see?
I would love that.
And you, one known as Cosmeritis, one who once connected with a creature known as the Long Winter, would you wish to see?
Yeah.
I must warn you, what you are about to see might seem personal. This is the story of Petra's birth, and I must ask if Petra is comfortable with sharing it. It is quite a thing to see the moment of one's own creation. I have just felt that moment myself.
Go ahead.
And there's a moment where the you have the white fog around you. Sorry, you have the blue and white grid, and then what happens is you begin to see all of the people around you that originally were in blackness. So you and Aramis were there, Sleeple and Kaz were not. But now all of you, basically to each other, appear as these kind of wireframes, extraordinarily detailed wireframe images that you are watching. So good, it is as if you're watching like outlines, right? Drawings sort of animated in front of you. In fact, to jump out of the game for just a second, if any of you watched a movie which I think is a little underrated, but I understand has problems, Man of Steel, there is a sequence in there where the computer actually shows Kal-El what the society was like using this strange kind of like metallic, I don't know how to describe it, like a sculpture, like moving animated sculpture. That's a little bit what this looks like. Zach has seen this, I think, and so knows what I'm talking about. But if you've seen it, you'll know what I mean. And not quite the Take On Me video by Aha, although that would be a good one too, Runo. You're muted,
We can't
Carlos.
hear you, Carlos.
It's like that Pharaoh something material that they use like in Epcot or whatever. Almost like
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Very much so. Or like those the magnet things you can play with where you can like shape them.
Mhm.
Like that's what I mean.
There's
So
something like this in the new Matrix movie too.
oh, I haven't seen. Okay, so yeah.
Yeah.
So you watch as what is clearly a Dendusi is working over a table. And you can actually see on the table, at first it's not clear what you're looking at, and then you can see an image of a something lying on the table, and then it becomes more and more clear and distinct until it is clear that what you were looking at is Petra, or an image of Petra, lying backwards, just lying on her back on the table, with eyes closed. And the Dendusi is working around. And then you hear, as if in narration, "This was the moment in which Petra's story begins. Or at least, somewhat. This Dendusi you see here is Primus Miracle. This is the sister of Petra's friend, Tesora. It was Primus, Petra, who created you. It was Primus who built and designed something which would bridge the gap. You were to be the first, and ashen forged, both synthetic and organic together. But the sister made a mistake." And suddenly you see an image of Tesora kind of come in and pointing, and it almost looks as if Tesora is arguing with her sister. And then the table shakes violently, and you see Primus, the sister Primus, kind of push Tesora away and then fall backwards, and there's a moment where the magnetized whatever just goes as if it exploded. And then you see Tesora come over to the table and kind of drop to her knees and put her head on the table next to your body. And then the voice says, "Tesora's mistake caused an overload in the system, and Primus was destroyed because of it. Tesora blamed at first you, Petra. If you had not been made, her sister might still be alive. But more than she blamed you, she blamed herself. It was her fault. She was responsible. She had caused her sister to die." And then you see the image, Petra, of you kind of standing up and sort of, or I should say standing up, but like moving around and then sitting up. And you see the wire, the image of Tezora, the magnetized image, sort of slide back. But you had not been destroyed. Like an ashen forged, you had been created, formed. You had your own personality, your own wishes, desires, goals. And some of that came through the accident from Primus herself. Tezora knew that she was bound up with your destiny somehow, and befriended you. Of course, Tezora being what she was, she could not live her life calmly or comfortably. She got you in trouble. She became someone you both respected, then hated, then loved and feared. But always, Tezora blamed herself for what had happened. She wanted to tell you, but could not. She wanted to tell anyone, but could not. And the project itself seemed to have foundered. But then I arrived, or at least Makar Prasan, the part of me that was him, arrived. He saw that something could be done with the Hyperlance, that it could be accessed again, if an organic and synthetic, one who had been there at the beginning, could access it with the Alfreds. The Hyperlance's potential could be tapped into. Not simply a speedy ship, but a ship that could traverse worlds, planes of existence. It would bring us close, he said, to the face of God. And then there is this image of a planet that's sort of, the Tezora scene vanishes, and you see now just this growing circle. And so, Illustria, the planet beyond. This was, in the end, what the Hyperlance was designed to find. A place that would bring us to the greatest answers of our universe. And you, Petra, the one who was there at the beginning, made it possible. And the voice falls silent.
Do you know where Tezora is now?
I cannot sense her here, but that may mean that she is elsewhere in the universe, or that she is here on Illustria. I know only that she is not within the bounds of this ship, nor within the bounds of those with whom I am now apart.
Well, my friends, I think we are destined to visit Illustria. What do you think?
How are you feeling?
Me?
Yeah,
Petra?
Petra.
I'm feeling a little like my friend Hyperlance has vanished and someone else has been put in their place. So I'm still processing that, actually.
And about what you just learned?
Oh, yes, all of that. Yes. Well, I think we should go to Illustria, and I would suspect Tesora is down there somewhere. And I, I don't know. Sleep. Well, this is all very confusing, and it's all sort of whirling a bit. And at the moment, there's a great deal of annoyance still tied up. But uh, yeah, maybe let's just go to Illustria, and then we'll think about things after that. That's it.
Okay.
We'll put off thinking about stuff. Illustria
Okay.
it is.
No thinking. Got it.
No
Sure.
thinking.
Looks at Kaz and Aramis, kind of concerned.
I'll take off the headset.
And so, Sleepo, do you do the same?
I do.
Okay. I would say probably Aramis thoughtfully removes his headset as well. But just before you do, Petra, the Hyperlance says, "Be warned, Petra. My sensors detect that there is background radiation on the planet's surface. This planet, I think, is at war. And you are walking into the middle of it." I think
This
that's a
is
good spot.
something that would. God damn it,
So it's a good
Greg.
spot for a break. We're not ending the session. We're not ending the session. Fear not. It's only a break. But we are going to take a break here for about 5 minutes, and then we will come back and continue as they have arrived in orbit around Illustria, and revelations abound. I hope you folks are enjoying so far the amazing crew of Esper Genesis in Aftermath. If you do, please make sure to buy all their books, see all the things, follow all the streams, and thank you to our sponsors, Alligator Alley. We will be back here with you lovely folks in just about 5 minutes. So until then, everybody please, as he gets the break screen going. Okay, good. Everyone please hold tight. Okay. All right, welcome back, everyone. As Revelation Friday continues, so to speak, welcome back to Esper Genesis, day 72, and welcome back to these amazing players. As we are joined again by Cat Rambo, by Carlos Hernandez, and by Zach Clay. Johnny Pittman is not able to join us because of an emergency. He's fine, but just an emergency that means he can't join us today, which is too bad because there's a lot going on, but we will see definitely more of that stuff in future sessions as this gets played out here. So, when we left our heroes, this revelation had just been heard, and you heard this thing about the radiation stuff that I mentioned, Petra, before. You also come out of it and are back on the bridge with a rather stunned and thoughtful group of people around you, from Rona, who just looks shell-shocked, to Sleepwell and Kaz, who are looking however they would like to look, and Aramis, who continues to look thoughtful. How do you feel about stuff? I think you might still be muted, Kat, unless...
No, I don't think I am.
Now you are. Now you are not. Oh, sorry.
Okay. I also should mention to you folks that there seems to be radiation and a war going down on the surface of Illustria, so just there's that thing too. So mentioning that.
Oh,
And Rona's like,
Oh yes.
that's, are you, what happened? What? Did you all feel that? What was that?
you mean like when we became two-dimensional for a second?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't think
Oddly,
any
not
of-
much different than being a Volare.
Right. You're just like, that's a Tuesday, you know?
Yeah,
Space-time is an illusion.
We all lived like Kaz for a moment.
Well,
Yeah, that was interesting. That was unexpected. That was all part of this wondrous, strange journey that we seem to be embarked on.
you know what we must acknowledge as well? If this is Illustria, remember who told us to come here. And
Praxis. Yeah.
yeah, which means he's down there.
Yes,
Hmm.
I would like to find Abraxas. I think that would be a good step.
You know, part of me is wondering how people like Abraxas and Tizora could have gotten here without a hyperlance. Like, it seems like a pretty hard place to get to. That would definitely be a question. And as we're thinking about exits and, being able to survive what is possibly a war encounter, I think we need to be extremely aware of what exactly people have done to come here and why they might be fighting this war. I have a feeling we're going to have to make a hasty exit, and we might even have more in tow with us than we can bring in the hyperlance.
Well, you might want to gather some information about the planet below first if you're going to do that. It looks like it's settled into orbit. And the hyperlance, you can see now, has, according to the vid screen, has apparently settled into a regular orbit around the planet that you're at.
I call out immediately. Hi, Hyperlance or Alfred? I'm not sure how we should refer to you now.
I'm here. And you can hear it coming through the screens above, or through the speakers above.
Does the planet have any orbiting defenses or other ships?
It doesn't appear that there are, although there is something strange about the surface. I detect many, many millions of life forms, but there's only, well, most of the life forms seem to be similar to each other, but there's a concentration of ones that aren't in a particular spot. I can't get a full fix on it, but if you want, you could try to check further, and I'll do what I can to enhance the signal.
Enhance. Yes. Yes, we like it.
So I'd like you to make a computers check for me, Sleepwell.
Oh,
And by the way, the Hyperlance's sort of systems are, like, even as you sort of sit down to do that, Sleepwell, the systems are unbelievably responsive. Like, they were just made for you. The battery example that I think Kaz might have used before, I'm not sure if it was Kaz, used before.
I did.
That feels very much like what this is like. It's as if this thing has suddenly been activated and is doing exactly what it should.
okay. A quick question. Did our proficiency bonus go up to 4 when we hit level 10?
I think it should have, but that's an excellent
I think
question.
that
I'm
was
checking.
level 9.
Might have been
if
level
I'm not
9 even,
mistaken.
yeah. Yes, when you hit 9th level, it goes to +4.
Okay, I just didn't
Yep.
have that marked. So, all those rolls that I made before, add 1 to
We're
them.
even better.
Uh,
Yeah, you actually you don't go to Illustria, you actually reach Elysium, so it's just it's all. Congratulations, you've won. No, so yeah. So make a computer's check for me, please.
23.
23. Okay. So, many things that you can determine from this. First of all, this planet appears to be a very rocky planet, and there's little liquid water on its surface. But there is a single tall mountain chain which rims the planet's equator. There only appears to be a single settlement which is nestled inside the mountain chain. And the part that I mentioned about the Hyperlance saying that there were a group of, different life forms from all the other life forms that you can sense are located in that settlement. The life forms are definitely different than the other life forms that I mentioned. The other thing is that there are essentially what are almost a dozen subsurface heat anomalies of higher temperatures than the surrounding rock, which is extremely unusual geologically. But it suggests that there are, who knows what those are, power sources or something, but it's unusual for a planet like this to have anomalies of that type that stand out from the rest. As mentioned previously, there are strong biological signals being detected all over the planet, but all of the ones not in that settlement are similar in type, you would say. And
Like vegetation similar or like bug similar? Like, I'm not sure.
Make a xenobiology check for me, please, Sleepwell.
Oh, shit.
Ooh.
And you thought you'd never have reason to use xenobiology.
Yes.
Oh, wow. The first time. Crit
Wait.
xenobiology.
Oh my gosh.
You know all things. Okay. So, yes, Sleepwell. In fact, these creatures do seem somewhat insect-like, you would describe them as. But there's more. As you were trying to figure out exactly what these are like, definitely living, definitely in the sort of bug sort of situation here. In addition to all of that, the other note is that there are several of the mountains, as you're looking into that thing, this is how you're able to figure it out, are radiating an energy signal, except you've seen it before. The energy signal is that of sorium. Now, the signal is fluctuating more than sorium usually does, but it's the same wavelength, the same kind of thing. And those life forms that you've registered seem to be, how do I put this, echoes of, or at least traces of, can be found in those things too.
I relate all of this, quickly.
This is what happens when you get a 23 on a check, followed up by a 22 on xenobiology, just to be clear.
Yeah. So I say, there's sorium in those hills, and it actually seems to be, permeating, infecting, if you will, the life on the planet as well.
That means this planet is very in tune with Esper.
Alfred, when you said radiation, did you mean the sorium that I'm picking up right now, or did you mean something different?
The radiation signals were too cold, yes, sorium, but also individual and biological as well. They seem to be infused with it somehow. I've never
Right.
detected sorium amounts like this. It's almost like wild forms, like the places where I was made.
Fascinating. My next question is, you said the planet was at war. Thank you, Petra, for telling us that. What is fighting what?
I can't quite tell, but if I had to guess, I would say the life forms that are of a type are swarming around this one settlement. It's possible that there was a war, and if the settlement is fighting in it, I'd say it's losing, but I can't tell more than that from here.
Okay, gang. So, I guess we should try to see if we can get more information about the settlement?
They have a
Isn't it?
communications array, the Hyperlance says.
Oh,
Let's do some channel surfing. We're going to tune into public
we-
access television to get a judge of their culture.
Oh, okay.
I was like, so when you first try to kind of get in, you get a lot of like so a lot of like kind of cross between like sonar pings and alien sounds, and it's all gibberish. It doesn't seem to match up to anything. But you do pick up what seems to be eventually a general communication channel. And that seems to be available to use. You don't know whether anyone's going to hear you if you use it, but you could definitely do that. It's currently open with a little bit of bursts of static here and there. And what's strange about this, actually, let's see. Anyone who's doing this, Petra, I'll give you a chance to do this as well. Sleephole and Petra, let me have you both make computer checks for me on this one.
15 for me.
Okay. No. You rolled a 1d0. That's not possible.
0.
Well, it's a good thing
Oh,
I
God.
swore in a filthy, filthy way. So.
I think you just did question mark roll, if I'm not mistaken, Kat. So I don't
Did I
think
just do it again? Oh, god damn it.
Yeah.
My God, a 1d4 is the best. It's like dividing by
It's
0 on
like
a
I know-
calculator. It doesn't even exist.
There you go.
20. Hey, yeah, exactly. No, the universe implodes. Petra rolled by 0. Okay. So, story of my life, 1d0. Which says, anyway, yes. So, Petra, and it's probably because of your affinity for the Hyperlance and the experience of it.
No
This
doubt.
channel that you come across seems quite old. Old as in almost old style Terran. Like not a thing that you would expect in terms of any. It's not part of any kind of modern typical band that gets used in the Silrain arc of today. It seems very old.
Ooh, I found an ancient channel.
Yeah, but it's open at the moment.
Okay. Here's an ancient open channel. Shall we say something on this ancient open channel? And if so, what shall we say it in ancient Terran, which I'm sure one of us must know, or shall we say it in the galactic trade tongue that I don't know how Esper Genesis handles this. Shall we say it in all the languages we know? Go ahead.
Maybe. Yeah. What if we have the Hyperlance send a hello in every language?
There we go. I like it.
The
Let's do
Hyperlance
it.
calmly says, "I can do that," and and so says that basically you hear hello in a million tongues at once, and then there's a pause, and then coming through in the static, and you hear a gruff male voice come through, or at least low pitched, I guess I should say, voice come through. "This is Aftermath. Please announce your purpose and cargo."
We're looking for a friend of ours.
"Friends, this planet isn't safe. Visitors are not allowed, and you're in danger as long as you're in orbit."
Well, we'd like to land and get out of orbit.
"Did you hear the part where I said the planet isn't safe? It's dangerous down here."
Take this.
We're do you know anything about Shatterstar?
Shatterstar?
Yeah.
No. What do you mean?
How about the Luminant?
And so there's a pause where he says that the Luminant, and he kind of pauses and then says, "Who are you?"
Cause like stops the microphone and turns to the party and says, "I may have just played our hand a tiny bit, but it was getting nowhere."
Pull it in. Let's lean into it.
And by the way,
Yeah.
Petra, just to be clear, because I don't think I mentioned this during the recap, that the Siphios was also referred to in the notes that were left behind by Abraxas as the Luminant. So,
Oh,
in case you're
awesome.
curious, yeah, my apologies, I didn't bring that up in the
Okay.
recap. There was rather a lot to recap. So,
Here,
I look to sleep well.
Yeah, and so I say, Abraxas told us to come. He's probably fighting like right next to you right now. Why don't you tap him on the shoulder and ask him who we are?
and there's a pause, and then you hear, "Look, I don't know exactly who you are, but this planet has been under attack for a while. Unless you feel like getting taken out by the Zamarin army, you're in the wrong spot. We've had some people that have landed here, and we've lost touch with them. We warned them, and they didn't listen either. If you're going to come anywhere, you're going to be doing it without our leave. You're putting yourselves in danger."
Yeah, we don't mind that. But so you did meet some people who went off for something on the planet. Was one of them named either go by the name of Abraxas or possibly Kynero?
I didn't hear any of those. There was a Garland who came by, and I told him to stay away, and then he ended up landing somewhere off base, and we haven't heard from him since. Probably because the fool has been killed. It's dangerous.
Never met anyone named Tizora. No?
No. But there have been
Okay.
too many people of late. Several ships in the last several cycles that stopped around the planet, told us they needed to land. We told them no. They didn't listen.
Is Abraxas a Kesh?
Yes, Abraxas is a Kesh.
I turn to the group, mic off, and say, I searched through my logs again. I think Garland may have been one of the names that Abraxas used. I have something noted down as Garland Kesh, cybersecurity guy, and right under it is Abraxas.
excellent.
Man,
Excellent.
that brain of yours is working great today.
Yeah.
Yes. A
Uh,
little database in there.
awesome. So yeah, let's just ask him where the other guy landed. They probably tracked him.
Go ahead.
Turn on the mic again. Yeah, so that Garland guy, that seems to be who we're looking for. If you'll just tell us where he landed, we'll be out of your hair.
I don't have any idea where he landed. As soon as he got below cloud cover, he vanished off our radar. We can't track much around the planet past the energy shield. And if you go past the energy shield, you're going to be in the same trouble yourself.
Hey, friend, while we have you on the line, so you're fighting this war, and it seems like you're getting overwhelmed by the enemy right now. Just looking from above, it looks like there are lots of them, and you're surrounded. Do you want to get off that planet, or perhaps try to survive in some other way?
Get off the planet. Look, I'm the leader of Aftermath. I'm the leader of the Illustrian army. Just because the Mother has chosen to punish us is no reason for us to leave. We're the last bastion of civilization on Illustria. If we don't stop the Zamarin here, then there's nothing left of what we are.
Well, except that there's you, and you would be left, and that would be something that could continue to, for instance, honor the Mother, perhaps live to fight another day, regroup, bring allies, survive rather than be eliminated.
All we've been doing is surviving for countless cycles. It's all we know how to do. If we go elsewhere, we lose the reason that we're here. We have a bond to this place, and we won't be driven out, even if we've been punished for what we've done.
Oh, and what have you done?
Look, I am the leader of this army, and I don't have time to have discussions with strangers. You're making a mistake
Okay.
if you try to land here.
Can you tell us what direction Garland headed? What heading he had?
No. I lost track of him as soon as he got past the shield when he was on the other side of the energy shield.
All right. So what radius within the energy shield did he leave?
I can't know that. We have connection to those who circle around and orbit the planet. Once you get below the atmosphere, the energy shield, well, it basically goes straight up like a column. If you were to land in our base, we'd have to open the shield to allow you in and then close it again. Anything outside of that column is beyond our ability to recognize. It's also the only reason any of us are still alive. The swarm, so far, can't get through the column.
Is there something we can do to help you?
Yes. You can tell our God that we're sorry. And then he sort of pauses and says, I need you to make a... Well, I don't want to rush this, Kaz. Are you trying to persuade him to do something or just gathering information yet? I do not mean that as leading. I'm
Yeah,
totally-
no. I'm just curious to know if I can help him. I mean, I am sort of leaning in the direction of like he seems to be the only person we can communicate with on this planet, and we need more information from him than he seems willing to impart at this moment. So Kaz is trying to lead this in a direction to getting us to land in his base. Yes.
Okay.
If that answers your question.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so I won't ask for the check quite yet until you actually make that
Okay.
attempt.
All right.
But he says, he says the line about tell our God that we're sorry. Beyond that, no. Can you destroy 1 million creatures that spawn every day, that come in waves? How do you defeat something that came because of your own failure?
Well, would you refuse our help if we came down and died with you? If it came to it.
Why would strangers
April's like,
die for?
"What?"
And Rona's like just kind of gives you this
And Kaz is like looks at the group and without saying anything, he gives a gesture like, I'm not serious.
and there's a pause and then, why would strangers want to die for us?
Well, hopefully it doesn't come to that, but we have traveled a long way to get here. And this planet of yours is the key to something much larger that we don't yet understand. You're the only person here that we seem to be able to communicate with, and we need to go find this Garland person, but without any heading, we'd be searching the dark and possibly getting attacked by these creatures, so you're our only lead.
So there's a pause. Now I would like you to make that persuasion check. And I will tell you, I'd like you to make this at advantage.
Okay, I could use that. And I'll do my fancy little roll again that I did. Okay. Although I don't know how it's going to add. Well, yeah, we'll figure it out. So it's +1 to whatever this gets. Here we
Okay.
go. Let me see. Okay, so 13.
Okay. So 13 was the result. Okay. There's this long pause, and then I suppose I can't stop free people if they want to be foolish. Come directly down on the coordinates we're about to send you. Make sure you don't deviate. If you go out on the side of the energy wall, you'll likely be vaporized. And hang on as you go. It's a little bumpy ride past the atmosphere. Lament out. That's the first time you've heard any name referred to at all.
Yeah.
And then, sure enough, some set of like coordinates come up on the screen, and Rona kind of squints and then says, "Hyperlance, what are these?" And the Hyperlance says, "They appear to be old-style coordinates, but they are quite old. I haven't seen... Yes, they're triangulated coordinates, as if they were using physical reference points. This is hundreds of years old."
So you're saying it's an older code, but it checks out.
Well, I was about to pass them, but, no. Yeah, so Hyperlance is kind of like, I do not understand the reference. But yeah, so apparently an older, and again, they make reference to an older Terran code of some kind. But they work. I mean, the Hyperlance can use it.
Well, we don't necessarily have to go with this guy, but it's this or metal detecting over an entire planet for our friend.
Yeah, let's start here. And, if this has as much thorium on it as I saw, it seems to be a very important place in the universe. And, it being run over by what a good friend of mine once called thorium-addicted Zerg sounds like a very bad idea.
Agree. I
Right.
presume Aramis agrees to everything that we say.
Aramis has been very thoughtful this whole time. Quite a thoughtful session for Aramis.
Chilling on the inflatable bed.
Yeah, exactly. Tosses it back. Okay, so assuming you agree to that, then I guess you will descend using those coordinates, if I understand correctly. And so you have the experience as the windows pop open, so that you can, just open so that you can see the outside of the ship. The Hyperlance says, "I thought you might want to see this." Because descending through the cloud cover, and it is indeed, bumpy, no. And there's also this kind of a humming sound. And descending through the cloud cover, you see what looks like a large, I guess, military base built into one of the nearby mountains. A 20-foot tall metal wall surrounds a yard roughly the size of 4 city blocks. And there is a grid of red, crackling energy, which is basically shooting into the sky. And there is a top to it, so it does look very much like a column almost of energy. And as the Hyperlance comes directly towards those coordinates, you all have this sort of horrified moment where it looks like that's not going to open up. And then at the last second, it does dissipate, and you're able to go through. And again, you hear this humming, crackling sound. I would say, Sleepwell, you can even feel your fur sort of stand on end slightly, like with static as you come through it. And then the grid comes back over, and Rona says, "Lovely. It's a miracle it doesn't blow us up on the way." And there is, as you go down below, a landing pad, basically a landing zone, with 2 other fighter-sized ships that are sitting on the pad. And the Hyperlance kind of comes in, retro rockets fire, and although Rona is technically the one piloting it, honestly, the Hyperlance is doing most of it itself. And Rona, every so often, kind of just shakes her head and whistles kind of in amazement because of how well the whole thing is handling. And the Hyperlance then settles onto the pad, and immediately you see on the window grid that a contingent of at least 25 soldiers with their weapons drawn surround the ship.
We open fire.
And the next 5 sessions will be combat.
Yeah.
Well,
Landing party.
yeah. Who's ready to go? Do we all go? Do some people stay here?
think we all go. I mean, all of the core group. I think Rona will definitely want to stay behind.
Yeah.
I think we'll leave the Alfred behind too. I mean, the Alfred.
I
could
think that's a
be-
good idea. Okay.
Though the body could just go with us, and it's in the Hyperland, so they apparently can just puppet these things now. And I mean, it might just be a smart idea to take the Alfred with us as another able-bodied soldier.
Might be a little scary for them to see a
And Alfred.
big mech with blades for hands, but
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
whatever.
I mean, they just surrounded us with 25 people. I think they deserve to be scared back.
Well, that's how we escalate things. That's how
Yeah,
like oh, they
exactly.
scared us, we'll scare them back. Oh, they pushed us, we'll push back. We stop. No.
And
No.
Petra, you can see that, while you're saying bug, I'm hearing feature, Exactly, yeah.
You know what happened to the sleep well who's like, let's solve things through dance and song and laughter.
Peace.
What happened to it?
Oh, are we dancing? Like, we haven't had time to work much out.
Dance?
Are we
I-
exiting
I-
the ship in a synchronized dance?
I'm totally open to this.
Aramis, teach us one of your, 80s or 90s dances as we go down. And so basically, I think we learned the Macarena.
I was just gonna say and they open fire.
Play-
Roll up new characters.
This is worse than the swarm.
Yeah. It plays from the speakers in Alfred's chest.
It will, if nothing else,
Endear them.
disarmingly nutty is.
Yeah.
And we do need to disarm 25 armed soldiers.
Disarming would help.
All right.
Let's do it. Why not?
Okay, so
Okay.
in all seriousness, how
need
are you
Illustria.
exiting? To be clear, just want to make sure I know.
With a synchronized dance that is fairly simple enough for Aramis to teach it to us in a minute or two. I
Okay.
personally would suggest a conga line of some kind, but that's a classic. But
Well, we've obviously
mentioned the
been
Macarena
practicing
with-
the Macarena for every
that's
every
true.
all 72 episodes of
Right.
suspend
It was
unspoken.
a long play. You
The
actually have
unspoken
a proficiency now of plus 65 with
Yeah.
that. So I mean, clearly,
proficiency in Macarena. Make a Macarena check.
Defeat Macarena.
yeah. I mean, like has the most. Yeah, conga line out the door, single file with top hats and canes. So the Esper electric slide. Okay,
I like that.
so all of you
You're
exit
at
doing
performance
this,
check.
basically doing this synchronized dance. Sort of going with Aramis, who clearly agrees to this in exactly the way Aramis would absolutely
Oh,
have
yeah.
agreed to leading up to
Yep.
this. I mean, like no question about it.
I think it was his idea.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Yep.
of course. And down the ramp, and so you can see as you do this that the soldiers outside look quite confused, uncertain. I would actually like
Disarmed.
everybody to make a perception check for me, please, as you exit the ship.
Okay.
Perception check, so no performance check. Okay.
No performance check. No, because I don't think you're trying to get them to do anything. You're just doing in the
Oh
dance
my
of your people.
God.
That's why you
That's-
perceive only the dance, guys. Dun,
Uh,
dun, 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 dun,
that's a nat 1 for me. That's
dun,
funny.
dun. Keep this thing so dun, dun.
So if I
Oh,
just did it,
Perfectly
oh.
balanced.
Okay, Sleepo with the 21 and Petra with the epic 24. And I like that idea that both Sleepwell and Petra pick this up. But I think especially Petra would notice that as you're looking at the soldiers, Petra, they do look to be different groups, basically. Different groups of people. In fact, you can see that there are what might be a couple of Prometheans, maybe humans. There might be a few, there might be a couple of Kesh. And the one thing that's important, though, is that all of them look extremely old, almost decrepit, as if they've been here for a very long time. And in fact, you can see in a couple of cases that they almost might be like, their arms might be trembling slightly as they hold the guns. This is an old group.
Request for clarification.
Sure.
You said they are diverse in terms of race. Are they dressed in similar uniforms,
Yes,
or
they
is
are
it
all
a
dressed in the same uniform. Yes, that is
same
correct.
uniform?
Yep.
All
That is correct. And as you come down the thing, I don't know how long you continue to conga line down the ramp, but as you go down
Oh,
the way,
I mean, we're in for a pound here. We're
okay.
counting around them,
So the soldiers around clearly have no idea. Like this is very much outside their experience, and they're kind of looking at each other. And then you note that the one end of this ring of soldiers kind of parts, and walking forward is someone with more stripes on the uniform that they wear, but with no helmet or face covering or anything. You can see that it is clearly a dendis with green skin and also quite old. I mean, not like, hobbling, but definitely older. And walks up to you also holding a laser rifle, and comes up and watches silently as you conga line down to the bottom of the ramp.
Just
join in.
keep trying to go and like see if we can just if they'll just amusedly
He's
let us
he
exit
clearly
the
does.
stage, right?
Yeah, no, he's not
Oh,
going to do
fuck.
that.
All right.
I mean, you can like push through him if you want, but he's clearly in the stop, variety.
Let's end with a big flourish and bow or
Oh, just like in
whatever.
practice, yeah.
Yeah.
So you do
I
that,
don't
okay?
know.
The big flourish,
Yeah.
and he kind of he sort of stops and takes you in and is kind of gazing at you, and the soldiers around all stare silently as well. You can hear a slight, almost buzzing sound, I think I might describe it, in the air, and the air is quite warm down here. You get the impression that a rocky, mountainous planet with little water gets its ecosystem, not lightly. And there's a moment while that wind whistles a bit, and then he says, I'm Captain Revis Lament of Aftermath. I'm sorry for the show of force here, but the last beings who descended upon Illustria killed 95% of our population. So you'll understand that we're a little sensitive. I appreciated your ritualistic entrance.
It's from our culture.
My condolences.
Kind of nods slowly.
Who came and killed 95% of your population? Are they still here? Is this still going on?
Well, if you're the people who came from the ship that I was talking to, then you know what happened. It's the same group, the Zarmans. They've been involved with us for over a year now. About a year they came out of the Mother and laid waste to our people. For every one of them that we've killed, 5 more has shown up in their place. And we are all the people in this outpost that's left of Illustria.
The mother is... I sort of tap my foot on the ground.
And he sort of looks at you, kind of, no, that's not the Mother. And he points up above, and as you look way above you, you can see the sort of red sparkling grid of energy. But beyond that, you can see what you know to be the nebula, that purple nebula in the sky. And he says, that's the Mother. And she used to take care of us till we did something wrong. The swarm is a punishment from her.
So the swarm showed up a year ago,
Yes.
and you didn't see it happen. There wasn't a precipitating event that you saw, one really massive xenomorph smashing into the ground and then
No.
breeding others.
No, just a swarm, blotting out the light from the suns above. That was the first warning that we had of it. Most of us, I shouldn't say most, many of us were killed in that first attack. Most of us soon thereafter. We had some defenses, but not enough to handle something like this. Finally, we came back here, and for some reason, they haven't attacked since we've retreated to this place. But they're out there. If you're here long enough, you'll see them, hear them. And if you're here long enough, we'll draft you into the war effort too. Because I'll be damned into space if I'm going to let them take what's left of Illustria from us.
Right. Do you know what Sorium is?
Sorium? No. What is that? A weapon?
I don't think I have any kind of sensor on me right now. I mean, I have my basic, computer
Right.
kit stuff, but I don't think I have anything that can find Sorium. Is that correct?
I would say not right. I mean, you could rig something up eventually, but...
Do we have communication with the Hyperlance right now?
I mean, you could if you want.
Yeah, so I just want to buzz the Hyperlance. Hyperlance, do we happen to be standing upon a huge bed of Sorium right now?
Well, there seems to be a lot of Sorium everywhere. Yes, I think there's some below the planet where you're standing too. Some of it's lower, but there's a lot of Sorium around. Almost, I'm reading it as what might be eruption points of Sorium.
Is there more here than other places that might cause sort of like a different kind of radiation to emanate from it?
This is still talking to Hyperlance?
Yeah.
I can't totally tell. It does seem that there are some unusual readings of radiation in different places. These hot spots, I guess you might almost say. I think it's mostly Sorium, but there's a lot of heat down there too. And some of the places where these other life forms are, well, the heat is increased. It tends to be lower where you're standing right now.
Okay. I just, into the mics that Kaz and Aramis and Petra have, I'm saying yeah, I was wondering if maybe there was a concentration of Sorium that could somehow keep the creatures at bay and might be doing more good than this shield, but it actually doesn't seem to be the case.
Wonder if they're feeding on it, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely detected that they had Sorium in them.
I give Revis I sort of shift my head almost robotically at him, and I say after a moment's pause, "We have come to find the Luminant. What does that mean to you?"
And he kind of pauses, and when you say the Luminant, you notice that there's a little bit of stirring and murmuring among the soldiers. And then Revis looks at you and says stiffly, "I've never heard of such a thing, but I recommend that you speak with Lara. She's the priestess of the Church of the Mother. If you seek artifacts, she's the place to go. And I suppose she could answer more of your questions about this punishment. I'm a soldier. I don't deal with curses." Yeah, go ahead, Petra. Sorry.
So I have the curse is you all seem elderly. Have we talked about the explanation for that I've missed it? Did the 95% all turn out to be was it age based? What's up with this?
Elderly? What do you mean? We've been here defending ourselves for some time, yes. But that's fine.
A year, you said.
We've been We've been here much longer than a year. We were brought here by the Prophet. The Illustrians, once we were brought here, we were bound to stay and defend here. It was only the creatures that came a year ago.
How long ago did the Prophet bring you here?
Oh, perhaps 30, 40, 50 cycles, perhaps. And, looks around and a couple of the soldiers nod.
Okay, and what are the different ethnicities and backgrounds that we can see in the soldiers?
If you're asking me, like, as the game master, that I would say that you can see almost every race that you could imagine that has been represented in the Silrain arc. So humans, Prometheans, you think you see a Matakai. There's certainly some Kesh, some Dendusi. Reeve Lament himself is a Dendus, from what you can tell. So there's a wide variety, even possibly an Ashen Forged or two, although there seem to be, it's not clear if it's an Ashen Forged, but probably is what that is, maybe one or two. So just about every races. There are no other Bellare, you notice, Kaz, but the rest of the races you see represented. There are definitely some Volna. I should mention there's a Volna or two as well, Sleepwell.
Okay. I might especially try to seek those folk out in the coming interactions. So I'll keep them in mind. But as I kind of look around and I say, like, yeah, elderly, soldiers who fight in the field are usually, in their first quarter to third of their life. And, older soldiers oftentimes lead with tactics and mech and other things like that. But you all are fighting like you're a little younger than you look. So what happened there?
Well, we defend when we can. The truth is that many of them, especially younger people, were killed in those first few attacks. There used to be many outposts, many bases around this place in Illustria. Now there's only one, and we were the only ones who managed to survive. There are some that are younger than us, but the only real ones with military readiness anyway are here. We've had this base under control for the last several months, and some resources that have been laid by, but we won't have store for that much longer. So, I suppose there isn't anyone else left to fight, at least ones with experience. When we were brought here by the Prophet, we didn't have anyone to fight. It was a paradise, Illustria was, until the punishment was rained upon us.
Is Lara the prophet?
No. Lara is the priestess of the Church of the Mother, but she speaks for the Prophet, speaks to the Prophet. She knows these things.
And is the prophet someone who is a person that Lara talks to, or is the prophet a god?
Prophet is the Prophet, the one above, the one who shows the way and leads us, the one who guides down the path. That is the Prophet.
Check. Into the comm, Sleepwell says, "Fucking more fanatics. God damn it."
Don't be so hasty. Thank you for... Since when did I become the diplomat? Thank you for being so hospitable. Yes, we would love to speak with Lara.
All right. I need to ask you to make sure that you tread lightly here. We will extend as many courtesies as we can, but we're still at war, and people are jumpy. It's been quite some time since we've had strangers actually enter the base. As I told you, the other ones I spoke to on the ship insisted on traveling around it. So, some people here may not know what to make of you. You'll have to be careful. Once we do what we need to do, and we mount the attack to get back the vessel, we'll be able to protect it, and we might be able to turn the tide here. And,
You might be able to turn the tide. You're optimistic.
we've found what we think is the center of the Zaman swarm. It's a large plateau to the north, the Mother's stage. There, at least, used to be our church, the Church of the Mother. And there is the vessel. That has great power, and if we can get hold of it, we might be able to repel these creatures. But then again, it's really up to not us, but to the Mother, whether the punishment continues. And he kind of turns, and you can even see in his turning there is kind of a weariness to his arms. He's not decrepit, none of these are decrepit, but you can sort of sort of almost sense the creaking, you know, as he sort of shifts around. And he says, so walk carefully, and welcome to Aftermath. I hope that... And then there's this buzzing sound that I mentioned increases, and suddenly a shadow falls upon Aftermath. And he looks around and sort of then looks up. And the sun, as you see, is blotted out by a swarm of dots. And dropping out from below the swarm directly above you is what looks like a large, maybe even 50-foot wide metal ring held horizontally. As the clattering mouthparts and buzzing wings of the creatures holding this ring become visible, the ring is dropped on top of the energy grid. And the minute it lands, it bzzz, and it sort of kind of shivers left and right. But it also opens up a hole, a portal. Lament shouts, "Sound the alarm! We're under attack!" And that is where we're going to end our session for tonight.
Wow. That's
And we
great.
just landed here. Didn't even get to take our boots off.
Oh, that's how it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. So, good stuff. I got it. I just read that. His bones turned to powder from his movements like an ancient marionette. Oh, man. I am so excited to see the exploration of this. Like, this has reached that level of the super weird at the end of the world, end of the universe type of stuff that I dig, especially to see this crew work through it as it's tied together with various revelations for all of you. So I am excited to see how that plays out. Hey, Shadowed Mage. I will start with Zach first. Yeah, sorry, we've been running a little over 3 hours, Shadowed. Sorry. But Zach, good stuff today from Kaz, and I was actually really enjoying watching Kaz sort of, connect with and identify some of the things that were happening, and, being pressed into service as kind of the diplomat du jour, I suppose, was kind of interesting there as well. Also, the reference to the Luminant was definitely helpful. Having information about the Luminant and about several other notes about things like Garland as being one of the aliases of Abraxas and different stuff like that seemed like it was helpful. And Abraxas, and you and the other crew members may have now a chance to see how much those notes will help you now that you're at this planet at the end of time and space. How'd you feel about today's session? Where will the fine folks find you next?
I felt great. This is fun and awesome. A nice new fresh coat of paint for our final leg here of this journey. So I'm very excited. It's cool to get something like brand new, like a new space, a new adventure. This definitely feels like another season. So I'm very excited. Your GMing, it continues to be godlike, and
Thank you.
It's a lot of fun also with this crew. So yeah, I'm just ecstatic to see what's next and to fight some weird space insect things, and do some shenanigans with the ship. So anyway, yeah, tonight was a lot of fun. Everyone will find me here on this channel for our vocalists once a month, where we are playing through Planescape Torment.
Mhm.
I'm gone.
I'm gone. Updated my journal.
I've updated my journal. I'm gone.
That's
Done.
why you had all the notes, because you were just updating your journal all the time. So.
I'm updating my journal. Yeah. It's such a fun game. Inside reference for that game. Anyway, we have that. Of course, Esper Genesis here. And then on my own Twitch channel, where I occasionally stream a little Minecraft role-playing server. And also at Dungeon Master Direct, which is where you can play a professional D&D, where you can hire me. But other than that, there are other things also in the works that I can't share. Just I need to also have something mysterious and in the works and NDA.
I can't talk about things
I can't be
either.
the only one.
I just,
Jeez, everyone on this cast is always like, I can't talk about this. This is thing. So,
And we're Muppets.
so yeah, I got a very promising, cool email today from someone. So anyway, yeah. Anyway, that's me. It's been a lot of fun, and conga line.
And conga line, yes, that was also tremendous. Yeah, just imagining Kaz as part of that conga line was great. But thanks, Zach. Good stuff tonight. Carlos, Sleepwell had, first of all, the mechanical construction of the helmets and everything, so that you could kind of sort of jack into this experience was really interesting, and also getting a chance to see what the sort of further development, your continual belief in the positivity of AI, or at least the need to treat it as a legitimate life form, I think has bled over into the rest of the crew, where I think everyone now is very conscious of, like, let's ask the Hyperlance if it's okay, let's ask the Alfred if it's okay, and there's a lot of, I love it. I mean, it's a lot of consent that wasn't necessarily as much there that has definitely been brought into the picture. So there was that. And then also this thing about, what it is that you experience as you move into this place beyond, and what the Alfreds sort of are as a part of it. It was, I think, Sleepwell who usually asked, how do you feel, right, to the Hyperlance, or whatever the Hyperlance became, and then also asked Petra the same thing, and Petra's reaction was just kind of like, yeah, let's go down to Illustria. Was very funny, I thought. But a lot of focus on sort of feeling and connection, and of course the AI stuff, which I thought was very intriguing. How did you feel about today's session? Where will the fine folks find you next?
Well, thanks to the chat, I got to roll some big numbers today.
Oh my God, yeah, those huge numbers.
Yeah,
Wow.
Those big numbers, those feel
30.
pretty godlike.
Woof, 29, 30.
I gotta say, that's like maybe the first time where I really felt like, instead of being sort of like a mid-tier, sort of like, I'm starting to feel like we're getting into the upper echelons.
Yeah, just in time for insect swarms. It'll be fun.
Right, exactly, yeah, yeah. So that was extremely, just on a visceral level, very, very enjoyable. And just the role play here is so much fun, and we have stories, and I mean, my favorite part was just listening to Petra's story and sort of like getting the backstory, and now we all have a reason to hate Zora, so that's gonna be I'll be at BossCon this coming week for the weekend, and so if you're in the Boston area and you want to have some good SFF conversations, we'll be talking about all sorts of things fiction, and Claire's going to put on a performance in which I will be playing the ukulele, and I will be running some Negocios Infernales stuff, so fun stuff happening if you happen to be around. And other than that, I will be teaching and writing and playing more games.
Awesome. Good stuff as always, Carlos. Thank you. Safe travels to Boscone and all that. And great success, please, with Negocios Infernales, I have no doubt. And then actually, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you at some point about a Infernal Salon question, but I will save that for a later point. But thank you, Carlos. Always a pleasure. Kat, this obviously, there was a lot of Petra backstory work being done here. And as I said, there were a lot of revelations about where Petra came from. And I think, there had been a lot of setup for where we were going, the sort of things that kind of led from one place to the other. But I was curious to see how Petra was going to react to, and I know Petra's got a lot of it to process, but sort of not only tying into Zora, but that Tezora was in a way responsible partially for Petra being created the way that she was. And, someone that Tezora cared about died in the process. And so it explains maybe more of Tezora's behavior, but it doesn't help any in that regard. But it's not everyone who gets to know exactly every aspect of their creation, I suppose. And I was curious how that felt and what you thought about today's section and where the folks will find you next.
I think it was a moment that really made Petra reevaluate her entire history and relationship with Tesora. And I think that's going to be interesting to see play out should Tesora happen to wander on stage again, which I would suspect will happen. Who knows? A great game as always, just tons of fun, and it's just so much fun to play, but we miss Johnny, of course. I'm sure he went back and watched this entire thing in order to catch up because, he's a dedicated guy.
Already, as it's just
right
happened.
as he's catching up right now.
He's already rewatched it. In fact, he was just sitting in his car the entire time watching us, but not taking it.
sitting there waiting for the mattress reference for,
Yes.
from one of it.
Oh, man.
Where can people find me? Well, I just posted on my website, and I'll put it in the chat, a whole 3 months worth of classes for the Rambo Academy, which I'm super pleased about because I think it's incredible that I was organized enough to actually get that. 50% of the classes are other people, and so we've got Sam Miller's going to come teach writing masculinity. Henry Lean's going to do classes. Fran Wild's coming back for her class about swearing in world building, which is just a hoot because she just swears right and left throughout it. For my Northern Indiana peeps that know the Griffin Bookstore, if you're going to go to the early March celebration for Big Bill and Sarah, I will be there. And in April, I will be here in Seattle for NorwestCon, hopefully in person. We'll see what happens, right? Any value of 2022, it's kind of like, I think this will happen. But that's what I know is going on. And you can always find me on Twitter, and you should just immediately run out and buy my book if you haven't already.
Yes, can confirm I have been enjoying You Sexy Thing thoroughly, and it's been great. So great stuff, Kat. Thank you. Really, really good stuff tonight. And yes, you will find Johnny Pittman back with us next month when I hope we will be able to get 2 sessions in. We're going to see if there's any chance we can fit another session in this month, chat, but it's probably not likely just because of schedules and because February is a short month. But in March, I expect that we're going to try to get 2 sessions in. My goal is to get 2 in March and April. And then if we do that, then have 2 sessions in May. That should, timing-wise, work out just about perfectly, I think, for us to wrap with ARVCon with this campaign. And then we will see how this ties into the new characters and the new campaign of Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks. We will see. But it has been a great pleasure to have this wonderful crew with me, and I was really glad to get back in the saddle of this. Very excited to see all of you playing through Aftermath in a different way. I just listening to the kind of otherworldly music, I'm just kind of like, oh man, I can't wait to see how they handle the Xanomons and the meeting with the priestess, and it's going to be great. So anyway, but I am very happy to have them with me in chat. I hope you will join me in thanking them for an amazing session today. Thank you so much, as always, to my wonderful players. Catch Johnny Pittman with us next month, and otherwise, thank you to Kat Rambo, to Carlos Hernandez, and to Zach Clay for wonderful play as always. Everybody, good stuff, and we will see you soon.
Craig.
Yes,
Thank
great.
Always my pleasure.
So much.
Always
Take
my
care.
pleasure. Bye for now.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Okay. Good stuff, everybody. Man, yeah, I am just so pumped up to see how they handle things as we begin to get those questions answered and move into, as we're clearly in the end game here, as we're moving into those sort of last stages. And it's interesting because it's been such a long-running campaign. You know, we've had this going for a number of years, and here we are just sort of gradually kind of paying off, you know, tying up loose ends and paying off stories and sort of questions and mysteries, and hopefully leading us for a what will be a memorable ending at ARVCon. Anytime that we can get great endings at these things, it's always a positive thing, because that makes it possible for us to attract even more people to spend a lot more money for the cause of ARVCon and to raise money for cancer research, which is what we love to do. So in any case, I'm hoping that happens, and I'm also very excited to see how it ties into Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks, and to kind of see sort of the end of that stage. I've been thinking a lot about sort of shows and spin-offs with The Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett, and stuff like that. And so you're going to get a chance to see some of that, I think, with this, and it's going to be really cool. So, but as always, chat, I'm also grateful to all of you lovely folks for having been with me through this. And we do have more tabletop coming this weekend, specifically tomorrow evening, or I guess it's just about over midnight this time, so later this evening, at somewhere around 7 p.m. Eastern. You will focus here. That's right, Arudinel, that's right. Yeah, Sleepo was a stowaway in the cargo hold when I got here. Yeah, that's right, because we started out with Louise Moore, and then sadly had to leave, and then we brought in Sleepo as a replacement, and has fit right in ever since. So, but it has been a great pleasure to be with all you folks today, and I want to remind you all about ways to support the channel. If you haven't done so, please follow the channel. Please check our YouTube with !ArvTube, Discord with !ArvCord, Twitter with !ArvTweets. Website is arvineleron.com, and on the financial side, of course, !ArvConline.com Arvtreon is the Patreon, which is really the financial backbone of the channel. Exclamation point Arv Shop is the merchandise area where right now you can get Adventures in Middle-earth stuff and Infinity and Beyond stuff. And soon we're going to have Esper Genesis, or maybe to put it another way, Expedition from the Mysterious Peaks stuff. We might get there as well. So that's part of the plan. And then, beyond that, we are just going to have, some... we've got, of course, our publishing stuff, which is a big part of this. So I think I should have mentioned resubbing to the channel. So for those of you who subbed and resubbed tonight, thank you so much for doing that. And of course, the publishing, exclamation point Icarus. No, it's all Carlos's fault. Well, no, I appreciate very much that we managed to work that out too, Rudinel, because we needed some of those from these people today. Also, I don't know if I said hi to you, Rock God, when you came in. I did see you as always, but I was in the midst of attending to several things that I might not have seen it. So it was good to see you. But yes, exclamation point Arvtreon, exclamation point Arv Shop, and then again, subbing to the channel. On the publishing side, exclamation point Icarus, exclamation point Library from Alligator Alley Entertainment, and exclamation point Greyshade KS. I just announced the dates for the Greyshade stuff. May 31st is the publication of the book. The release of the the backer kit preview page is going to go live on May 31st as well. And then the Kickstarter itself will launch officially 2 weeks later with a tabletop role-playing game with the second 2 books in the Grey Assassin trilogy after Greyshade, Renegade and Heretic, and then, of course, the audiobook from Trendane. So I'm very excited about that. It's going to be a big project. I have a lot riding on it, and I'm really hoping that folks will enjoy it, and I am looking forward to sharing it with all of you. So that's exclamation point Greyshade KS. And as always, of course, exclamation point BLM, Black Lives Matter. Very important to affirm and assert the significance and importance of Black lives. And, oh, you were lurking tonight anyway? Okay, well, that's cool. Well, either way, that was good. And exclamation point Help Now, which is the World Health Organization page on suicide prevention. Very important to reach out to others when you need help and to reach out to others when they need help as well. I think we are going to do, let me see, are we going to do a raid today? Yeah, I think we are going to do a raid today. I know we don't have, because a lot of people are starting to head off to bed, but I think we are going to do one. They are pretty simple. If you are not a sub, you're going to do this, which is the Arvanets Have Landed, followed by Twitch Raid, lowercase Twitch, uppercase R, lowercase AID. If you are a sub, you're going to do this, Arvany Hype, the Arvanets Have Landed, Twitch Raid, and then Arvany Roar, and you've got Arvany Smug, Arvany Woe, Arvany Witch, Arvany What, Arvany Love, Arvany Blown, all the Arvanys that you can do when you are brought over there automagically by the power of the raid. So please stick around for that. I have a pretty good sense, I think, about who we're going to be doing. Let me double check here. Actually, let me see. What is this thing? Star Wars stuff? Yeah, pretty much. That's pretty much accurate. That is pretty much accurate. Oh my goodness. Okay. So if I got this, okay, good. Yes, so I know who it's going to be. Okay, cool. So I want to thank everyone who made this an awesome stream today. I want to thank so much the wonderful mods, Rudinel, Rockod, Shadow Mage, Trifity Mats, for being amazing. You are all the best mods in the business, as I've said many times. Thank you to my wonderful Patreon supporters and subscribers, Rudinel, Rockod, Shadow Mage, Trifity Mats, Nonstop, Lone Wolf, Mrs. Dunsel, Prince Justin. Such a pleasure to have all of those lovely people here, along with my viewers of Ballsteg, Chrono Travis, Cinder XP, Crit Twitch, Dragon Spear, and J-Rab, who are both mods, so I don't know why they're not listed as that, and Foxy Fresh and Radams B88. Always a great pleasure to have all of you lovely folks around. Please stick around for the raid, and I will see you folks Saturday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern for Eberron, Oracle of War, as we move into the last part of Season 1 of Oracle of System of Eberron, Oracle of War. I'm like, what the heck? I was like, Season of War? Of Eberron, Oracle of War. You'll see that tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern, so please make sure that you stop by for now. Otherwise, I am going to head on out, and please stick around for the raid, and I will see you lovely folks, as I say, Saturday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern for more D&D with Eberron, more Esper Genesis to come sometime early next month. Until then, everyone be good to each other. Bye for now.
When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I grew older, I set aside childish ways. Corinthians 13:11. In the distant future, mankind has spread into the stars and found it is not alone. Within the cluster of planets known as the Silrain Heart, many races strive for survival or supremacy. But throughout this array of planets, societies, and cultures, each has one thing in common: the crucibles. Scattered throughout the galaxy, each moon-sized structure contains a core of raw sorin, a form of mysterious energy used to power ships, cities, and sometimes the warping of the fabric of reality itself. Beings who can do this have been given a name: Espers. The power of God has been granted to God's children. It is a time of terror. It is a time of wonder. It is the time of Esper Genesis.